Bam. Fuck. Sorry.
Sick. Wicked sick. Okay.
60?
Right at a minute.
0?
0-0.
Yep.
Cool.
Hell yeah. Clean.
All right.
So fresh and so clean. Oh no, the pies pulled
So
ahead.
fresh and so clean. Oh no.
Oh
steaks,
no.
The steaks won.
No,
got
thank you.
The shoe thieves won. Or no, sorry, the steaks won. You're right. Sorry.
No.
Yeah.
Stakes one. All right.
Jazz Hands and Tigers are tied going into the bottom of the seventh.
You can do it, Jazz Hands.
Nolan Stofia Patterson hit a single just now on the Tigers. It's best of 5 like real baseball, so it's not like your team's out if you lose one.
Oh my god.
We're gonna have to do a cold open, I think, on this one. But you should still start the show as normal.
I was just waiting for silence.
You're not gonna get
You
it.
have to strike while the iron's hot, buddy.
Well then, hello and welcome to the Gaming Fyx podcast, episode 132 on August 1st, 2020. I am Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite Blaseball team. I am joined today by Alex,
Let's do it, moist talkers.
Pat,
I'm disappointed a little bit in the Seattle Garages, so my fandom is pending some better fandom performance next season.
and Allison.
The Breckenridge Jazz Hands are in the playoffs right now, and I'm going to be watching these games while we record. So
Yeah, I think
expect
we're all
me
going
to be
a little distracted. I might jump ship to the Helmut Sunbeams because they have a very good Twitter, and the Seattle Garages. They're very perfectly Seattle in that the fandom is like whatever. So it's on brand, even though it's maybe not for me.
The Suns one is just so good because they always just talk about the sun, like just constantly
And
they're talking about the sun.
So much about like Eldritch, like just offhand. They're the most welcome to Night Vale, I think, of all of the teams in terms of the way that their like fandom and Twitter behaves.
Also, hi, welcome to Gaming Fyx.
And also, by the way, we're talking about Blaseball.
Welcome to Blaseball.
Your premier Blaseball podcast.
That's not true. There actually is a Blaseball podcast already.
Yeah, there's Blaseball Radio.
Yes.
Of course there is.
But is it just like Twitch? Because I know that they live commentary games.
How do I find the Mexico City Hot Wings Twitter?
Let's see.
Well,
I can send it to you.
Yeah.
I have it.
Yeah, I have the tacos going. I've got the Jazz Hands going.
I only follow the Jazz Hands because I am a very serious fan of the Jazz Hands.
I also I'm not a Philly Pies fan, but I do follow Jessica Telephone.
Oh God, there's someone made a Twitter for the player.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Sorry.
So if
we need to address something. What is Blaseball?
I mean, this is the eternal question
for our listeners.
Blaseball is
what isn't Blaseball?
It's like Blaseball.com.
Oh man.
And you can.
Oh man, the Jazz Hands pulled ahead. I'm so excited.
No, the Pies just dominated the Moist Talkers.
Oh,
okay,
no.
So Blaseball, what it is that it is the fake internet baseball.
Yes.
On
Zion Alicia Keys.
On Blaseball.com. So I'm trying to explain this. So each season is a week. Monday through Friday is the main season. Today's Saturday. So we're right now in the postseason. So right now we're in the middle of the playoffs, which is why we are very distracted.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're only on season 2. So it's really early to jump in. I only just jumped in like a couple days ago.
Yesterday for me.
Yeah.
I got in during season 1, but I kind of watched a couple for like an hour and then was like, this is stupid. And then I
like 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, but basically you what you do is that you choose a favorite team, which are all fictional teams, although they shouldn't be fictional because the Breckenridge Jazz Hands is the best team. But anyways, you choose a team and you basically can bet on each game, and you win money to spend on the election, which can either you can do some decrees, which are just big, kind of larger.
They're like whole league affecting events, new rules or peanuts or
right now, because see, like one of them is relegation, which is like a concept that I know because my dad's really into Premier League football. So he's which is like a big thing they do in the Premier League in the UK, is at the end of the season, the last place team moves out of the league.
Yeah. So, but like to take one step even.
And one of them is also just
back.
peanuts with no explanation.
Yeah, but like to take one step even further back, the actual game itself, like, you're basically just watching a website update.
Yeah.
Like it's playing
with like
automatically.
RNG.
Yeah, it's automatically RNG playing out these baseball games in like text form basically, and you're placing bets.
It's salty bet with with less visual stuff,
but with a whole lot more mechanical interaction, because like salty bet is not, which sounds silly, but the decrees are a way to affect the rules of the game, and then there are blessings that you can vote for that affect the stats of your team. So by actually strategizing with your team's community, you can influence the performance of your team based on how you spend your votes.
Yeah. So a lot of that kind of, I think, moves into the fact that the community is a really big part of Blaseball being Blaseball, because a lot of the community is doing some strategizing for the elections, but they're also paying attention to the games in a really funny, smart way.
Yeah,
that has been really fun to follow.
Yeah, I started my Blaseball journey yesterday and explicitly was like, I'm just not going to join any of the Discords or any of the Twitters or whatever, because I just want to see what it's like vanilla. And vanilla, it ain't nothing. It's vanilla, kind of boring.
It's kind of like fine,
right? But once you engage with one bit of the community and its lore, then you just get sucked right in.
Right. And that's the other thing, is that the lore is a big part of it. Like season 1, which I wish I was a part of it during season 1, their decree that they achieved was to open the book. And so you can now see the book on the website, which is this heavily redacted list of rules that...
which are real rules.
Some of them are, they're real rules for Blaseball, but some of them make sense. Like the team with most runs will win the game. Yes, this is a baseball thing. But then also you have the rule that's sportsmanship, redacted. And you're like, cool. But that also created some other lore. Like, for example, the Hellmouth opened because of opening the book. So it's like, it's interesting to see where these where the lore goes with these teams.
It's so collaborative between the developers and the players, because the developers are seeding the lore, and then players really run with it and come up with a lot of their own ideas and concepts. Like one of the players when the book was opened, umpires gained an eldritch power and began incinerating players randomly, and thus the discipline era began. And like one of the first players incinerated was the Seattle Garage's player, Jalen Hotdog Fingers. And so now like #Parkit is a thing in Seattle Garage's fandom, because there was a memorial parking garage built in memoriam of Jalen Hotdog Fingers, which is actually a very funny local Seattle joke too. And #Parkit is really funny. So it's always like, instead of rip Jalen, it's #Parkit is what you say. And that stuff, that's sort of coming more from the community side. And I'm normally not a fan of like, I don't personally, it's not a problem that I have or anything, but I've never been interested really in fan fiction. I've never been interested in any of that sort of like fandom. In fact, I think there's the eternal like death of the artist thing, and I've always kind of actually fallen on the side of like, no, I like to engage with the stuff that is like quote canon, which people take to a toxic degree. I'm not one of those people, but yeah, I'm generally like interested in like, no, what is the authorial intent here? But in this case, because it seems the authorial intent is to provide seeds for players to kind of run with, it works really well, I think, and it drawn me in too.
And I don't think I've ever seen the commissioner or any of the people behind Blaseball actually say, no, this isn't right. They're just kind of run with everything.
Yep. Yeah. So, they're so good at that.
Yeah. So like a lot of the things that that's specific to like the teams and the players is created just entirely by people. Like, for example, one of the players of the Charleston Shoe Thieves is widely regarded to just be a dog. One of the players on my team, the Jazz Hands, which just won their first playoff game, Baby Doyle, he is so named because he's a baby. So it's like they're like there's like this like lore that people just kind of have started to accept.
Yeah, and they do a great job of like the player names are all
great,
pretty random, but they're very good.
All fantastic.
So you get like Blankenship Fisher, you get
Alden
Margarito Nava.
I'm looking at some fan art of a seemingly innocuous character name, Miguel Wheeler from my team, the Mexico City Hot Wings.
Yep.
They are a large treaded tire with a baseball bat duct taped to it and an unknown number of rats living inside.
Yeah. Yep.
I just got into this 20 minutes ago. I have no idea what's going on, but the Mexico City Hot Wings spoke to me because I love chicken wing, or Mexico City Wild Wings, excuse me. It spoke to me on a personal level, so I had to support them. They're in the Evil League. There's an Evil League and a Good League. Mm-hmm. Do we know what that's about?
Nope.
Yeah, so it's like the National League and the American League in baseball.
Yeah. And then there's also the lawful evil and then the chaotic evil.
The top ones are lawful and the bottom ones are chaotic. Those are the divisions.
I didn't actually know that.
I don't know if that's something that they have said, but that is the thing.
I think that's pretty close to, I don't know. But all I know is that I did not know that until I picked my team and I was like, oh, I'm in the chaotic evil league.
Yeah, same here, Allison. Literally the same here. We're in the same league.
Three of us on this podcast are in the chaotic evil and based off of our team. So, and we should also mention that Erica is also
Erica loves Blaseball.
With Blaseball.
Erica might be the most passionate about it out of all of us.
Erica made one of the best tweets I've seen all week in a conversation with the Blaseball official Twitter.
It was so good.
You got to just go look at Erica's timeline and
AIREHCUH. Go look at Erica's Twitter.
I don't want to spoil it because it's worth reading yourself. It's very funny.
Amazing.
I just saw it.
Yeah.
And
the farm system is eggs.
Oh my god!
But also her team is the New York Millennials. So pour one out for the Millennials who are not doing great.
Hellmouth Sunbeams and the New York Millennials are the two fandoms that I'm considering jumping to. I will see. So I don't know. I don't want to abandon the Seattle team, but
for our dear listeners who are just here and are like, "What the hell are you even saying?" Still at this point, however many minutes we're in, like 15 minutes in or something.
Honestly, if you're still listening, I am like super, super impressed by you.
It's worth trying. And even if you don't use Discord, like I don't use Discord, jump into their Discord and just see how bizarre it is, because it is just strange. And basically it feels like it's conjuring the feelings I had with Frog Fractions and with like
totally
Bubsy 3D goes to the Royal Terrell, like whatever the retrospective.
James Terrell retrospective.
Thank you, not Royal Terrell.
It is
Royal Terrell.
That was like a multiplayer thing.
Is a good place. Royal Terrell is a museum about dinosaurs. Anyways.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. But it's kind of that just bizarre non sequitur, just like what kind of humor, but it's community generated and also just weird but also wholesome And
the other thing I'll say is, even if you don't give a shit about sports, like still give it a shot, because I know literally nothing about sports. I've gone to a couple of baseball games in real life and I've been like, this is fine. I don't know. But then like, there's something about this with all of the lore, with all of the fan community, with everything that I am just like, I love Blaseball, and like my sibling loves Blaseball too. And actually their recommendation is what made me check it out. And now whenever we are together at dinner, we're both just kind of like, so what's going on with our Blaseball teams? And our dad is just like, what the hell are you guys doing?
Also, this is real time because there is the start of this tournament that has been kind of like people have been waiting like pretty much all day from yesterday, because it's been like 17 hours without any Blaseball since yesterday. And
which is a long break.
It is, because it's usually every hour for like the whole day.
So I'm like checking the site and I'm like, oh, there's no Blaseball.
I know, same. But like I'm looking at the Twitter of currently the Jazz Hands, and they're psyched about winning, and the Hades Tigers, their opponents, are like, wow, good job, Hands, your team played super well. Like, they're all just so supportive of each other.
It's just a very,
it's not like,
it's like
fake
weirdly
anger.
wholesome.
Yeah, it's super wholesome.
So wholesome, especially for a like game where one of the things is that players get incinerated.
What's funny too is I usually, as a fan of like eldritch horror, I'm usually one of the people who's kind of like, when you take it in an absurdist direction, it loses all its teeth. Like I've always hated that whole like Cthulhu plushie, like ha ha ha, how cute, Cthulhu saves the world kind of tone. That's always been something that it's just a huge turnoff to me. But in this case, I think because it's hitting that very specific, before the cast, I kind of mentioned that it has a similar tone to Welcome to Night Vale, which is not to take anything away from Blaseball, because I think it's also very much has its own voice too, and is a very unique thing. But because it sort of fits in that realm of absurdity, it makes it's just very high quality. I think like the tone is super good. And I like it, even though it's kind of goofier.
Yeah, agreed. And also, I just placed my bets for the next round.
I only bet on sure wins anymore.
I put all my bucks into your Jazz.
You can beg for more money though if you run out. So
there is a bug where if you get less than 0, you can't beg. It has to be exactly 0.
Well, and also we're talking like,
but the commissioner is doing a great job, you guys.
Yeah,
like,
he is.
I think we cannot emphasize this enough that the commissioner is great.
I had 619 coins just now, and I bet 100 coins each on the pies and the steaks.
Nice.
So like, yes, you can beg if you run out of money, but like people who are playing seriously have like thousands and thousands of coins. So to burn your money and go back down to 0 would be quite a loss.
It is very much like Salty Bet, where like at this point, like Salty Bet's been going for what, like almost 10 years. So like you see people who are betting like 100,000 Salty Bucks at a time, and I logged in this week to Salty Bet on Monday, like unrelated to all of this, and I had like 5,000 coins because the last time I touched Salty Bet was like 5 years ago. So
yeah, I can't remember the last time I touched Salty Bet, but
there's definitely an economy of scale, and I imagine that's going to happen here too. Anyways, Blaseball's great. Should we talk about other video games? Otherwise, we'll just talk about this for hours.
Video game? Other video games?
Yeah,
there is only the cultural event that is Blaseball.
I think Alex Navarro put it well. I don't understand Blaseball, but I respect it. So yeah, we'll see.
It'll get everybody eventually.
Yeah, I think I came in at a really bad time because it's off season. So, and my team's not in the playoff.
I didn't know the Philly Pies had a mascot.
They do.
The feeling. It's not. It's not really a bad time because you can at least see some of the most intense fandom stuff happening, but it is a bad time to literally make the account and try to interact with the mechanical parts of the game for sure.
My team's in the party zone.
When you are
likes to
mathematically
party all the time.
You're in the party.
My team likes to party all the time.
Yeah,
party all the time.
We're back into it. But I also like when their server dies, they call it taking a siesta.
It's actually planned maintenance usually. I think it's both. Basically, anytime Blaseball is down, it's a siesta. And they post like on the Twitter, they'll post like 2 blood drop emojis with siesta time in the middle. It's extremely good.
Well, how about some things that aren't necessarily cultural events? They're just video games.
I don't have anything on my list except for the one board game that I have at the very bottom that is not a cultural event. So,
yeah. What?
I don't know.
You can't argue with me. I'm right. I have 3 cultural events.
Well, one of them we have a review for.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I played through a game called Umurangi Generation. I kind of jokingly call it a cultural event, but I think it's actually pretty cool because it's a. I don't know that everyone on the team is Maori, but it's a primarily Maori developed game. And I believe everyone on the team is an indigenous person. And the team is based in New Zealand, which is also where the game is set. So Umurangi Generation is a photography game set in, the way they put it, the shitty future. So it's basically an apocalypse in motion. The world is ending. You kind of see the opening. The first level is sort of the very beginning before everything has gotten completely destroyed, but also clearly the world is not doing great. And then all the way through to the conclusion, which I will not spoil. But I also won't spoil the nature of the apocalypse. It's pretty interesting. I think you should definitely, they do really good foreshadowing. It's very ominous. I think you should definitely experience that for yourself if you can. It's like a vaguely apocalyptic, but generally pretty like modern looking environments with this really, really, really striking PS1 style aesthetic. So it looks a lot like a PS1 version of like Jet Set or something like that. But I think with a unique style too. Jet Set Radio had a huge influence on games artistically. I think this game is really speaking for itself, even though there are some similarities in terms of like use of color and stuff. But it is kind of moving because it's a game about the art that people make while the world is ending, which is it's like a topic I had never really thought of before, but there's so many post-apocalypses that exist that are like
apocalypse.
Yeah, that are like brown and gray, and it's always about man's inhumanity to man and all that stuff. And I'm not trying to take away from that. Like, there's certainly post-apocalypse stories that I really enjoy, but for the most part, there's such dire, kind of hopeless and dark stories usually. And Umurangi Generation is just different because it's more about color and vibrancy and culture and community. And like, there's this incredible scene where the levels themselves are like discrete areas where you have a set of goals to take photos. They're called photo bounties. So it might be things like photograph 4 birds with the telephoto lens, and you have to find a way to get 4 birds in one telephoto shot. Or it might be like, take a picture of a donut. And so you have to find a donut in the level and get close to it and then take a photo. And then you're graded based on the composition and color of the shot. It actually is a pretty clever grading system that allows it to kind of give pretty good feedback from a like objective quality standpoint. But it doesn't really matter how good your photos are for the most part. There are secondary objectives that are one of the few things I don't like about the game, because I think they can be kind of frustrating, that you complete to unlock cosmetic, like more editing tools and stuff to just sort of tweak your photos that don't really affect your score at all. And there's like this one shot in one level that's a street at night. It's like a city block is the level itself, and it's just this group of people, diverse group of people, all dancing in the street. And it has this killer soundtrack that's a mix of like lo-fi hip hop stuff and electronic stuff. And it's just beautiful. Like you stop and look at it and it's so cool. It's so vibrant. There's so much color. It's so clever in its environmental storytelling and stuff. And there's also scenes that are almost legitimately scary, even though you're watching like the same thing happen on loop and there's no threat to you. It's like unsettling to move through the level because you kind of know what's going on, and it's very dark. But again, dark without being the same as a lot of other stuff. So it's really cool. I highly recommend it. I have a review on the site now, and so you can go give that a look. It was one of those games that was tough to score because I think it has some objective problems that are hard to ignore in a review. But at the same time, I think I like it more than like what I kind of scored it to a degree. But it does have some clunky movement issues, and the collectibles can be frustrating and stuff. So it's hard to like say, 5 stars, perfect game. But I think it's worth playing. It's very unique and very different, and totally something that even if you're not into photography, I would say it's worth playing. It only takes a few hours to get through the like story of it, but then the idea is you could spend dozens and dozens of hours going back to the levels and taking pictures and stuff, because they're really great canvases for lots of cool photos. And it has a very in-depth camera too, so you can really tease out a lot of different real photography stuff using the camera.
Cool. It's also got a free demo on Steam, so you can check it out, see if you're into it, and then go from there. I have no idea if that's like stuff that's in the game or it's a unique demo.
I think it's the first level of the game.
That would make sense.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what they did. Yeah, I'm very excited to see what that team does next too, because I think that they have a really unique vision and voice. It's not like anything else you're going to play this year, which is, I think, probably the best endorsement I can give it, because it's just very different.
Does it have a narrative? Like, is it telling a story from start to finish?
Yep. There's no dialogue or anything in it. There's no cutscenes. It's all environmental storytelling as you move through the environment, and you do kind of have to pay attention for sure. It's, when you see a newspaper clipping, it's kind of on you to read it and stuff. But it is absolutely telling a story. And there's bits and pieces. It's not like Pokemon Snap levels of stuff happening, but there are things in the environment that are in motion that speak to the story itself too, if you pay attention. But it's a pretty clear story. I don't think it's like, it's not like Dark Souls or something. It's a fairly simple narrative, and you definitely get it if you just pay any amount of attention as you're going through the levels. So it's not like you have to like read into every little thing. There's a lot of background details that are built into it that you kind of have to pay closer attention to understand. But from a narrative perspective, it's pretty much start to finish makes sense. If you like anime, I would say you'll like the story. It is clearly pretty heavily anime inspired. So.
All right. Well, since you insist that you are partaking in multiple cultural events, what's the other one?
I think Call of Duty is absolutely a cultural event.
But
I don't think it's
less
arguable.
So now.
What? No, I'd say
less so now.
There's like 20 million people who play Call of Duty.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who played it in like 2007 too.
That's what I mean. Call of Duty is a cultural event.
I just don't think it's got the same like impact now as it did. It's still obviously very successful.
I think in the mainstream it absolutely does. I don't think if from like gaming Twitter it doesn't, for sure. It's less of a like, but I think from a mainstream perspective, it's still makes a lot of money, and definitely. I was kind of being facetious, but also I don't know. It's certainly. The other thing about it now is, because they have a seasonal churn, which is the main reason I bring it up. Like, everyone's heard me talk about Call of Duty before, but because they have a seasonal churn, it feels like it's something is happening with it all the time, which is interesting, even though the seasons haven't been like super, they're not as good as like Fortnite's content seasons, for example, but they've been good. The main reason I bring it up is, you know, it's the season's ending, so I'm playing a bunch of it, and I had a couple of more of my friends have picked it up now, and we played last night as like a group of 4 people, and it is really interesting how that game scales in terms of communication and just level of fun with the number of people you have playing together. Like when all 4 of us were playing, we were all actually sharing information, which is something that my one friend and I never did when we were playing, because 2 people, it's like we're barely ever near each other. But with 4 people on a team of 6, suddenly it became like, oh, I'm actually telling my team where enemies are because there's enough of us that someone might actually find that information useful, which was kind of interesting. And I think led to us playing better. And then also just from a social perspective, that game is just one of the best when it comes to load up this game, hop in Discord with friends, have beer, and just run around and shoot stuff for a couple hours. It's so good for that.
It's incredibly polished, I think, is also the thing. Like they have a budget unlike almost any other game or series, and that means that they can put all the time into balance and making the gameplay feel like just constantly good, like much more so than any other series.
So, yeah, like, and I think Modern Warfare, they just hit this apex of like
legend.
They hit a like high point of like, it's got that polish. It feels so good to move around in, like beyond any shooter I've played. And there is just a never ending set of stuff to do. My one friend who normally doesn't like playing PvP games bought in because I was like, look, you can turn off text and voice chat. You can basically turn it into bot matches if you want to, from like your perspective. It'll just be with people with weird porn star names. Because Jesus Christ, people make their names porn star names. There's all these names that seem like halfway normal, and I'm like, I wonder if that's a porn star. And I look it up, and then sure enough.
Maybe you're just playing against a lot of porn stars.
I've gotten the same porn star hundreds of times at this point, if that's the case. But maybe they are very into Call of Duty. You could be right. Multiple accounts even. But anyway,
every one of them.
Yeah. So this friend of mine, they don't like PvP games typically, and so they turned off voice chat and turned off all this other stuff, but they love endless progression grinds. And I was like, look, this game, it has hundreds of different challenges you can do, maybe even thousands at this point. I don't know. And there is always a new thing. You can just open up the menu and find a new thing that you want to grind for, which is and it's all like gameplay relevant, but without being a loot thing where there's gear scores and stuff. So it's all like horizontal side grade stuff that you're unlocking, and it gives you things like the ability to like take a shotgun and turn it from a close range spread fire shotgun into like a slug round based, almost a rifle, like a mid-range rifle. You can just do that kind of stuff with guns and say like, well, today I really want to use this gun and I want to just sprint around and hip fire it. So I'm going to put all of these attachments on it to make it into that thing. And it continues to be really, really good. And I forgot to check my playtime last night, but I don't know that I've played another multiplayer game except maybe Rocket League early on with the kind of fervor that I continue to play Modern Warfare. I'm really, really hoping, I don't think they will, but I'm really hoping they announce that they're pushing the new Black Ops game that got leaked for this year into next year.
Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, which is the worst name.
It's not a good name. I like Black Ops. I'll play the campaign, but I would really just prefer to play Modern Warfare for another year in terms of the multiplayer. Yeah, because I think it's still really good.
It would be nice if they kind of went the Assassin's Creed route and actually took a break every now and again.
Yeah. I also think not that I know there's people who think Black Ops is like the best multiplayer game ever, but to me, the real quality of like the reason I like Black Ops is because they have interesting campaigns. And I feel like if they just made the Modern Warfare games the multiplayer focused ones and the Black Ops games the campaign focused ones, not that Modern Warfare doesn't have an interesting campaign, it does, but something like that would be cool, I think. And I really just wish it was a platform, because the saddest thing about the idea of playing a different one is losing all of the stuff from Modern Warfare that I've kind of built up over time. So yeah,
I don't know, they need a Call of Duty Infinite with free to play multiplayer.
Yeah, which Modern Warfare feels like it's that because it has Warzone in it, so it feels like the game that could be a platform for a long time. The problem though is like they're not going to, unless they come up with a clever way to allow you to like prestige guns or something. Part of the reason that they're able to sell a new game every year is the people who are super hardcore have already done everything in Modern Warfare. I'm like maybe a third of the way through all the stuff you can do despite having played it for a couple hundred hours. But the people who that's their game, they play it for thousands of hours. So they're already done and they need to restart the progression grind because they've done it all. So it's tough because it's like, I don't know what you do with how you do that, because you can't just add one new gun. They're going to finish that in a month. So it's you kind of need like a whole new set of stuff to do. But I think there's ways around it. I think they can come up with a new sort of prestige way to like start gun progression over or something that could make it more of an endlessly replayable thing. But we'll see. I don't know. That's the cultural event that is Modern Warfare.
Yeah, join us in a few months for the next cultural event, Madden.
Oh God, that's true though.
That's this month, isn't it?
Oh, is it? I thought it was next month.
It's usually August. Yeah.
You're right. Probably.
They're still pretending there will be a real football season this year.
That's cute.
That joke.
Hey, they've got
that joke.
No, actually, never mind. I'm not going to call the NFL cute.
Yeah. Real baseball not going so great. So.
Oh, there's some real funny gifs that have come out of it.
Yeah. Real baseball is now looking like, I guess real baseball is looking
less buggy.
Yeah, no, I was going to say it's looking like NBA 2K or something at launch, where they've got like the T-posing crowds and or Madden where they've got people just suddenly changing race.
Yep. Oh man, yeah. It's weird. I like it.
Yeah, it's just baseball players are getting COVID. So
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, so it's clearly not working.
Awesome.
And they really should just say, you know what? If any sport can survive taking a season off, I mean, it's probably football, but baseball also could survive that. It would be fine.
Baseball season's like a year long.
But okay, MLB, it's all guys, right? Like there's no ladies.
Yes,
in
it's
it?
all men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think there's a possibility that the baseball season will fall through and then those guys will, maybe need to go through some kind of like obstacle course?
Oh God.
Ninja Warrior is not okay because they have to touch all the same course elements. So they get their sweat.
But then what if they just all drop into a pit of like Purell instead of water? It's just all Purell.
Now we're talking. That sounds great. I think you would probably die though if you inhaled Purell.
Well, you wear a mask, like a significant mask, not just like
a scuba mask.
Like a scuba.
You gotta scuba your way through the Ninja Warrior course.
American Scuba Warrior.
What if you set it under? You set it in a pool of Purell, so the obstacle course is under. Not water, but Purell.
Oh, what would American Scuba Warrior even be?
I mean, the Navy SEALs.
You got to fight a shark.
And then you have to shoot a civilian.
Damn.
I will throw shade at the U.S. military all fucking day this month.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare, play it.
I mean, yes.
Got him.
But yo, Andre, I need to know what is up with Fall Guys. Like,
what is up with Fall Guys?
Like, I've been before the technical alpha, before all that stuff, I actually was offered a key for it, and I turned it down because I was like, this seems like something I don't want to play. But now it seems like everybody is just blowing up about it.
Yeah, I wish I was in the beta.
It's real good. It's going to be free on PlayStation Plus on Tuesday. Right. It's one of the games.
But it's the weekend now.
Yeah, it is. If you go on Twitch, you can probably find people giving away keys. They're dropping in a bunch of streams. It is so Fall Guys is like American Ninja Warrior or Wipeout or like Takeshi's Castle MXC meets Gang Beasts. You're not doing as much like grabbing people. You can grab people. It is one of the mechanics, but you're not like lifting people up or throwing them. You're basically just like, oh, I'm going to grab onto you and like mess you up a little bit. And usually you're racing through some sort of obstacle course. So there'll be like big spinning fans or like just like posts that are spinning or hammers, and they will hit you and they'll knock you around. And you're trying to race to the end against like 60 people is what it is, at least right now. I don't know if they plan to up that, but it seems pretty like neatly divided and organized to be 60 people.
So it's kind of like a battle royale, but an obstacle
Yes, it's
course?
a battle royale, but Takeshi's Castle. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
So you've got 60 people. So it starts off 60 people, and then you're all running through, but only like 44 people can qualify for the second round. So if you're not one of the 44 people to make it to the end of that first round, it's like, it's not timed, at least in the first one. So you're just trying to get to the end, and then it knocks those people out, and then they have to start a new game. And it's right now it's pretty quick because there's so many people playing. And I think there are 5 rounds max, and every time you're playing like a different game. So you've got like the obstacle course, you've got like more logic based things like, oh, you've got to remember what symbols are on the platforms, and then you've got to stand on the right symbol because all the other platforms are going to disappear. Or there's some that are like tag kind of, where some people have a tail and you need to run around, you need to grab them. So you go, well, I just knocked my thing. I hope that didn't make the sound get all weird. Sorry about that. You've got to grab the tail from the people, and then you've got to keep it until the end, or you've got to get more tails on your team than any of the other teams.
Oh, so it's like capture the flag at some point.
Yeah. So there's capture the flag. There's like a soccer. There's a few soccer variants. So it's like basically you've got Rocket League, except it's just like 6 little wobbly dudes trying to push soccer balls into each other's goals, or like a race and that kind of stuff. And it's really silly and pretty fun. I will say right now, it doesn't seem like there's enough like variants, or it seems like I'm getting a lot of the same ones when I play, but I'm not sure if they're rotating it based on time. Like there are some that I haven't played at all, so I'm not sure what's up with that, but I would love to play. Like, it's really fun to play.
Yeah. Is it, can you like queue with a party of people, or like, is it always just
you can invite
queue?
people. You can invite people together. You wouldn't be on a team by default. I don't know what it does if it gets to a team minigame. I don't know what it does there.
I would have no need to be on a team with people I'd play with. Like, it doesn't seem like the kind of game where I care about like strategizing.
Yeah, same. I think it would just be fun to be on like a voice call with the people you're doing that with.
It'd be kind of fun to like do like a fixed play of Fall Guys where we're all just like on a voice call and
on the same server at least.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay, now I want to do that.
Yeah, no, it sounds super fun. Do you know if it has crossplay at all?
I have not seen anything. I have not looked into like the details at all.
That's sort of the
Google real quick.
That's the big kind of kicker for me, is like, it's going to be PS Plus on PS Plus. If you have that, I would rather play it on PC, I think.
Sure.
Because I just prefer playing multiplayer games on PC. Because it's easier to manage like my voice chat and get my sound levels right for everything. but it would be nice. Like I have a friend who I would love to play this game with, and he was like, "Oh, it's PS Plus, great! I'll just play it there." And I was kind of like, "Well, I mean, yeah, I guess I could have 2 progressions going and play it with you on PS4, and then also play it on PC." But that kind of sucks.
So they say it will have crossplay, but not at launch.
That's good enough.
And
I mean, that's fine.
I don't know if they're gonna have any like combined progression thing, because there's no like account you log into. It's just your Steam account.
Oh yeah,
So
I would be shocked if there was cross progression. Just that seems
Fortnite
like a lot.
figured that out, didn't they?
Yeah, but Fortnite is kind of I mean, look at how long it took Destiny to figure that out. So
Fortnite is also Epic and one of the biggest companies in the world.
Yes,
right. Yeah,
yeah. This is being published by Devolver. It's got a battle pass. It's only 40 levels. I don't know if that's going to increase. It seems like the stuff you earn in the beta carries over into the final release. It tracks your wins, and you get like currency, so you can buy like cosmetics and stuff. I've got like a pigeon costume right now. The shop isn't open yet, so I don't know like if there's microtransactions. I assume there would be, but you get a lot of in-game currency, so I'm not sure what that looks like.
Yeah, the game.
It's a good time.
It seems fun. Like it just seems like pure. Like we talk a lot about games and like stories, and we talk a lot about like the nuances of whatever. But this just seems like pure mechanics, pure fun.
It seems like pure dumb fun, which sometimes you kind of need in these uncertain times.
Oh yeah,
we could all use some dumb fun right now.
It's the closest thing to an MXC game that exists, which is real good.
I think finding out that the thing I was not crazy about, like the reason I wasn't excited about it and hadn't really paid much attention to it, is the concept is fun to me and it seems fun, but I didn't realize that it was like a 60 player kind of battle royale.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really a battle royale, but that it was like a 60 player elimination game. I thought it was just the sort of game where you would get like 10 people together and run through these courses, which held a lot less interest to me, because it was like, well, yeah, I mean, I have a bunch of friends who will say they'll play Fall Guys, but will they?
Will they actually?
We'll play like one time and then it'll be fun for 3 hours and then we'll be done. But the fact that it's like a 60 player thing with matchmaking where there's some cosmetic progression is like, oh, actually, this sounds like something that I could sit and play, sort of like Trackmania, that I could like sit and play in a group for a couple hours, even if no one else that I know is playing with me, and still have a good time.
Yeah, and something, I don't know this for a fact, this is just kind of some speculation, but I think one of the reasons that Rocket League got so popular, at least at the start, was because it was a free PS Plus game. And that meant just like there was no barrier to entry, people could just play, and that meant the community never really died down. And in fact, it just kept growing. And like a purely multiplayer game like this, or like at least one which lives and dies by its multiplayer, who knows, maybe it'll have a local co-op someday, whatever, or local competitive. But either way, like the fact that this is a free PS Plus game bodes well, especially if it follows the trajectory, because it also seems like it's well balanced, it seems solid, it doesn't seem particularly buggy yet, even though it's like early. But it seemed, I've not encountered any bugs. There's like janky physics interactions, but they're the kind of janky physics interactions you want, where you get hit by like a swinging thing and you get flung across the map, and then you're like, oh, I'm ahead of everybody now. Totally.
That sounds fun.
It's just funny.
Yeah, it's currently the 5th most watched game on Twitch.
Wow.
It's like ahead of Valorant.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah. It's 78,000 viewers right now, so I think it's going to be, at launch, it's going to be pretty popular at least.
And maybe if I play it, I won't get called slurs like when I played Valorant.
There's no voice chat, no text chat, so
sounds better than Valorant.
Yeah, that's kind of exciting for me.
Yeah.
It's probably they probably won't instill any kind of pay per round kind of mechanic.
No.
God.
It'll be interesting to see what they do going forward, like for adding modes and stuff, because they've got seasons. So what does season 2 look like? What do they add for cosmetics? What do they change the game modes? Because it's like the logic one I mentioned earlier, where you're looking at the platforms on the ground. I don't think that one's very good. Like most times we play it and nobody really goes out. You might go out your first time, but
maybe season 2 involves a big Travis Scott concert in the background.
Well, you would hope that is the plan, right? That like the idea of really making a lot of changes to it over time and having like new modes rotate in and new maps and stuff would be part of the like appeal of having a battle pass and stuff.
Yeah. And they've got some interesting ideas. It'll just be nice if they can. I don't know why the rotation is the way it is, but it does seem like I'm seeing a lot of the same maps often. I don't know if it has to do with like certain maps show up in certain rounds or anything like that. But like you're not going to get the logic puzzle with like 60 people, because that would be far too small and like impossible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a good time. And if you can get a key, you should totally check it out, or check it out on PS Plus when it comes out this week.
Yeah. I might end up just picking it up for PC, because you get if you pre-order it, you get a Gordon Freeman skin.
What?
Oh,
which
wow.
is very good.
That is very good.
That is very good.
And if you get the collector's edition, you get a spaceman, a pirate, and a unicorn skin, and 10,000 kudos and a robot emote. So it's also, I gotta say, this is not meant as some like Pat's edgy at all. Edgy. But I don't want to yuck anyone's yum ever. So this is in no way commentary on the industry or a request for something to change for my tastes.
Has been yucked.
But I am a little bit like I've become numb to the like, oh, that's so cute, look at how cute this is. Like the reason I was into the Bugsnax trailer is because of the like dark weird parts of it. The whole like it's just, I'm just not as affected this year, I guess, by what a cute thing. I think it's great that other people are, because you should find joy in whatever you can.
I will be affected by cute things for the both of us.
And that is great. Same. But with that said, Fall Guys is cute in a way that I really enjoy, despite that feeling. Because
it's so chaotic, I think.
Yeah, and it's
like
so
you've got
goofy.
Pineapples and pigeons and dogs and Gordon Freeman all running down, busting through walls and falling over.
I think it's because
so silly.
The core thing isn't its cuteness, right? Like,
yes. Totally. You got it.
The core thing is it being fucking weird and buck wild and awesome, but it happens to be cute.
Like Paper Mario also has its cuteness, but I'm interested in playing it because the core thing is not just that. The aesthetic is a big part of it, but like the core thing isn't just aesthetic, right? So like that's definitely.
Although I wouldn't say most things that are just like have a cute aesthetic are just that's all it is. Like I'd say that.
I think it's an appearance thing, like not to throw, because it seems like it's an interesting game that will grow, and I'm not throwing shade at Ooblets from a like this has no substance thing, but from a perspective of like, if you watch the Ooblets trailer, it seems like the aesthetic is like kind of the thing they're trying to really, really push to the front of the way of that game's like image, which doesn't mean that that's all that the game itself is. It just means when I look at it, it's like I'm not seeing the mechanics as much, I guess.
No, I get that. It's just like that might be just more of marketing versus any actual.
Totally. I think it's mostly marketing for sure. But unfortunately, based on marketing is like a big part of how I pick games, unfortunately, because I just don't have time for them all.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Anyways, seems good.
All right. Well, yeah, I am enjoying my time with it a lot. I had a great moment where I was like in second place and someone had to jump across a gap and I grabbed them just as they jumped and they lost all their momentum and fell and got reset like back behind. Like, yes, I am first place now.
It's really good.
All right. Well, next up, Pat, you've got a board game, I see.
Yeah, I can touch on that quick because we're kind of light on news. this week.
We've got 2 more hours to fill.
Yeah. There was a I'll just talk about it a little bit briefly. I've only played a game of it, and it was just to kind of learn the rules. But one of the guy who runs the local game store near me kind of dropped into a board game group chat that I'm also in with him, asking if there was any interest when things settle down a little bit and we can play in this game called Unmatched, which is a re-implementation of, it's from a company called Restoration Games. They basically like remake old games. So they did like Fireball Island, for example, was kind of the game that put them on the map, which is a remake of the old Fireball Island. And they do it with like super lavish production values that are often ahead of what the game was like originally. So they've only got a few games out, but they have this game that came out last year called Unmatched, which is a re-implementation of the rules from Star Wars Epic Duels, which was a really cool miniatures board game where you would pick like Mace Windu and he would have 3 clone troopers with him, or you would pick Anakin and he would have like, it would be like him and the Emperor or something. It was like little teams of characters that you would pick. So Unmatched does not carry the Star Wars license, which is, I think, ultimately for the better in this case, not because I don't love Star Wars, but because it gives them the ability to touch on a wider range of characters.
It worked for Mass Effect.
Yeah. Well, it's not even science fiction. Instead, their first release was called Unmatched Battle of Legends Volume 1, and it included Alice from Alice in Wonderland, Medusa from Greek mythology, King Arthur, and Sinbad the Sailor.
Not that Sinbad. Okay.
No, not Sinbad,
from
Sinbad
Shazam.
Yeah, not from Shazam.
Shazam?
I think Shazam was the fake one, the not real one, and Kazam is the real one with Shaquille O'Neal, but I can't remember. Anyway, so the cool thing about Unmatched is you have your character miniature. It's just one character miniature, unless, well, most of the time. And then your character might have a number of sidekick tokens that are little plastic tokens, or they may not have sidekick tokens. And the reason for that is because it's super asymmetrical. So you play on these boards that are slightly abstracted just to make them easier to read, but generally you're playing in like a castle, or there's one board that's like city streets. And it has a very simple rules where you're moving, playing cards to get effects, and then playing cards to fight. But what makes it really interesting and gives it a lot of depth is each character is totally different from the other characters. It's super, super asymmetrical. So like they have a Jurassic Park set that has Muldoon on one side and the Raptors on the other side. And so if you play as the Raptors, you get 3 little figures, and their abilities are centered around like ganging up on their opponent, and you do more damage the more Raptors you have alive, but they're also easier to kill each, obviously. Like in one of the sets that I got, there's Dracula. There is Dracula.
No, I like the term Dracula. Like Dracula is like a concept separate from vampires.
So when you're playing as Dracula, you have 3 sisters, which are like sidekick tokens. You can move around and stuff. But Dracula's mechanics are based around a lot of like health regen, as you might expect. There's an Invisible Man character in the set, one of the sets that I got. I got the 2 4-character sets, one of which is themed around like Victorian London. The other one is themed around those legends like Alice and King Arthur and Sinbad and Medusa. The Invisible Man doesn't have a sidekick character, but he has these fog tokens that you place at the beginning of the game and then can play cards to move around. And he can do things like teleport between the fog. He gets bonus to his defense when he's in the fog. So the characters they all have very their own things. So far too, they have those. So there's like the 2 sets that I have. The Cobble and Fog set has Sherlock Holmes, Dracula, Invisible Man, and Dr. Jekyll / Mr. Hyde. They have the Jurassic Park 2-player set. There is a single, what's his name? The hero of Jurassic Park. He's coming out. No, I forget his name. I don't know why I'm blanking on it because I watched
Dr.
No, it's
Dr. Grant.
Yes, thank you. It's Dr. Grant. Yes, there's a Dr. Grant solo pack coming out. There's a Bruce Lee solo pack.
What?
Yep, or you can play as Bruce Lee.
What is
there is a
Jackie Chan and
no, but there's a Buffy the Vampire Slayer pack coming soon.
My God,
and then they also have a Bigfoot versus Robin Hood pack that you can get as well.
Okay, so can you mix and match? Can you put like Buffy
so any
versus
of them can
Jurassic
play together?
Park? Wow,
any of them can play together. So Buffy can fight Dracula in the Jurassic Park jungle map that comes with the Jurassic Park set, because each set also comes with a board. A double-sided board that has 2 maps on it, and the maps are different. They're not the same. Like, they're mechanically different in the way they connect. The spaces connect.
Really fascinating. That reminds
so those matchups are awesome.
Yeah, like that reminds me of like the Disney Infinity stuff that you wanted, of like mixing all these different kinds of characters or whatever, and putting them in the same place and putting them against each other. But also kind of sounds like multiplayer XCOM in a way. Like, I don't know if you've ever played
so
that.
Mechanically it is similar to that. It's really designed best for one-on-one play, but you can also do 2v2 play. One of the things that I love about it is there's no deck construction and there's no team building. You just pick a character and they come with a deck of cards and they come with all their components. So it means that you can just focus on the game strategy, and it's fairly well balanced. People talk about how King Arthur is bad, but other than that, like, it seems pretty well balanced, and it's starting to pick up enough buzz outside of hardcore board gaming communities that I think there's actually going to be like a scene to be able to find games and play it, which is pretty neat. And the thing that I've kind of buried the lead on a little bit is because I wanted to get out that it's a really good game mechanically. It's interesting. You can also teach it in like on Shut Up and Sit Down. Quentin there said like you could teach the rules in one breath, and he more or less does. Like it's so simple to learn to play it because all of the depth is in the asymmetry of the characters. So yeah,
really cool. Yeah,
and the RNG also is something that I really enjoyed. There's no RNG to determine outcomes. So the way that combat works is I pick an attack card that has a value and you pick a defense card that has a value, and then we flip them. We both pick them secretly. Then we flip them and then compare the values, and the difference is how much damage the defender takes, or no damage if the defender's number is higher. And then the cards themselves have tons of effects too. So it's not as simple as that, but there is no like rolling a die to see how much damage you do. The only RNG is the cards that you have in your hand kind of determine your options, which is a much more, in my opinion, satisfying way to handle RNG than using dice rolls to resolve things.
Yeah, like it almost sounds like a much lower barrier to entry kind of Spirit Island or something like that in that sense.
From the options of, yes, in that way, yeah. I see what you mean, yeah. But the thing that I've kind of buried the lead on is that the art is all done by Mondo, who does these utterly incredible posters. If you haven't seen them, you probably have, frankly, even if you don't, the name doesn't ring a bell. But they do classic film posters with this just brilliant pop art aesthetic. They have a really great Star Wars series. They have a stunning Jaws poster.
Yeah, and they've done a lot of other like more recent stuff too. Like I have a Mad Max Fury Road poster from them on my wall, and it is gorgeous. I love it.
And so the way that translates to the game is I could never play a game of this against another person in my life, and I would buy every box because the art in it is just out of this world. It's gorgeous. And that extends not just to the card art, but to the board art, and then the box art, and the production value of things like box inserts. This is like kind of super groggy board game nerd stuff, but lots of board games are just a box and then the stuff is inside. This is a game where like, if you decide that you want to play the Invisible Man, for example, you open the box, you take out his miniature, which has its own little slot. You take out the deck of cards, and then under the deck of cards there's his health dial, which you take out, and then under that are the 3 little tokens in their own bespoke slot, and you pull those out. Like, it has a very great, like, the production value of the whole package is just out of this world. The rule book is beautiful, even though it's this very simple little like 4-page thing. and then the models themselves are pretty good. So it's and like the tokens, there's some cardboard tokens, but like your character's sidekick tokens, which they make tokens instead of miniatures just to bring down the cost of the game, and then also because it helps differentiate between what's the hero and what isn't. They're like plastic tokens. They're not just little pieces of cardboard like you would expect. And so it's really great in that way. But
the Moist Talkers were ahead by like 3 points the whole time, and now they just lost by 1.
That's good because I had 100. I had 100 coins on the pies. This is great.
I bet 20 on the pies because I just started.
Anyway,
Unmatched is really
cool. If you're interested in anything that I was saying about Unmatched, and you have Tabletop Simulator, which is really a thing you should buy. There is an official tabletop simulator module made by the designer of Unmatched.
Oh, that's rad.
Yeah, so you can play it on. It's really polished. It's a really easy to use TTS module, and that game plays well on TTS because it is so simple. So I highly recommend grabbing that module. I would love to play it with people. So you should tell us if you want to play it, because I want to play that game, and my partner doesn't like competitive games.
How many people?
Oh my god! Someone may have sent me a Fall Guys key.
Sick.
Sorry. My Twitter begging may have actually worked.
They're handing out a lot of keys.
They didn't send me
Twitter
one. That's rude.
Is very good. It's the new hotness.
My dear Moist Talkers. Anyways,
there's still a chance for a comeback.
Yeah. That's the thing about baseball is it's best of 5.
You're right.
You can have the experience that I had when the Tigers, the real life Tigers, the Detroit Tigers, not the Hades Tigers, lost in, I don't remember, game 5 of the World Series like 4 or 5 years ago, and I was doing dishes, and I just took a plate and I smashed it against the counter and broke it.
Wow. Well,
I'm a big baseball fan, and it was really upsetting.
The worst that can happen, Alex, is you come to the party zone with the Mexico City Wild Wings and you party.
That's the best part about Blaseball. I'm never going to break a plate over Blaseball because you just enter the party zone.
What if the book says you have to?
I would do it. If the book said I had to break a plate, I would do it. I'm now a patron of Blaseball at the 666 level, which means that I in the Discord, I love it. The only benefit you get from being a patron is in the Discord now. I'm in the Blood House. I have a channel called the Blood House that I get to be in.
Okay. Interesting.
You and me, baby, ain't nothing but Blazeballs.
Yes.
All right. Well, Allison.
Yes.
We mentioned this game just a little bit ago with talking about Fall Guys and the cuteness factor.
Yes.
I believe you finished.
I did.
Paper Mario, the Origami King.
Yes, I finished the Origami King yesterday. I finished it plug time. I finished it literally minutes before my episode of Damage Boost podcast was posted. So if you should go listen to that if you haven't. But it's I talked about Paper Mario and my love for it, but that was recorded before Origami King came out, and I have since just finished Origami King. And guys, I have emotions and feelings.
Cool.
I ended up really loving this game a lot more than I think I thought I would. Like, there are definite problems. It's definitely not the perfect Paper Mario game, but I think when it comes to story and characters, it just completely nails it. So I was very much pleased with how it happened and the end of the game. So that I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's the game ends, I think, really well, and the game also like both story and I feel like the last couple of bosses are fun to play. Some of the bosses also get really hard. Like the last boss, I was just like, why are you kicking my ass all of a sudden? But in a good way.
I've played about 2 hours of this game, and I'm already bored with the combat, because at least early on, it's just the exact same thing basically over and over.
Yeah,
and
I think that
there's no point to it, because like you get coins, but at least so far they've been useless. I thought I was supposed to have unlocked the shop, and then I went to the shop and then it was closed, and I was like, well, what is this then?
Yeah,
I'm annoyed by that. But
did you unlock the accessory shop, or did you unlock the like item shop?
I went to both, and both were still closed. So okay. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that like that is probably the biggest flaw, is that the battle to battle really, like the main battles are fine, but they're pretty inconsequential. Like the one thing I'll say, there's only one moment I can think of where I struggled with having enough coins, because like one area near the end, for getting collectibles, there was just this like big coin sink. But really, that's just if you wanted to get the collectibles. And so that was the only time I ever felt like, wow, I don't have enough coins. When it comes to actually playing the rest of the game, it's really like you don't need that many coins, or you can come by them pretty easily. So I think that is probably the biggest flaw, is that the game battle by battle is it's pretty inconsequential. That
if they were more varied, it would be fine, but they're just so static and slow to introduce new mechanics.
Yeah, I'd say that it does introduce new mechanics, especially when you get to more varied enemies. And then also, I feel like later in the game, there is kind of a way you kind of have to weigh, for example, once you have a lot of different weapon types. So one of the things that's pretty new is that you can buy weapons that are stronger than your standard jump or your standard hammer, but they have limited durability. So like, for example, do you really want to use your strongest one now on these kind of relatively weaker enemies, or do you hold off to save those for later, knowing that you might have another round? Like there's more, you start getting more strategy, you start getting with the puzzles, with the ring puzzles, you start getting different things like for example, with the boosts that are disappearing, or there are certain enemies that do things differently. But I do think that is probably the weakest part, is just those specific, like the very specific normal battles, which is kind of unfortunate, because I think the boss battles can get really, really fun. And it really shows that, just like when you get to a point where it's more scripted or more kind of designed, that it's actually genuinely good. But
yeah, I think the writing has all been very excellent, and I've been laughing and enjoying all of that. So
at least the mechanics seem better than Sticker Star. At the very least,
it sounds like, it's, from everything that I've heard, it sounds like even if the mechanics aren't phenomenal, the writing is so good, the world design is so good, and the exploration is so good that it like holds up in those ways.
Yeah, it's just a hassle having to go through the battles because they're so boring, but everything else has seemed really good. The art, the writing, the personality, that stuff's all really good.
Yeah, and I think I'd say that I do think that the beginning is probably the worst part of the game. And once you get further on, there's I feel like you have fewer battles that I feel like you have to do.
Well, you get the ability to skip some as well. So.
Yeah, you do.
I am streaming that occasionally on Twitch. You can come watch that, or me play Ghosts of Tsushima on my Twitch, which I don't know. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll plug it at the end. But yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely worth playing. Like I said, the one thing that is I was surprised was just how emotional the story got. There was one moment earlier in the game that was very emotional to me, and I was like, oh, is this, like an anomaly? But I think that the rest of it was pretty well written. So I think that it's definitely not a perfect game, but I think that with all its flaws, it's still really great and worth playing.
Where do you think it ranks on your Paper Mario list?
Boy.
I know that's a loaded question to kind of throw on you out of nowhere, but
Allison's ready for this. She's prepared her whole life.
Am I? Well, the thing is that I haven't played Color Splash, and I bounced out of Sticker Star very, very early.
Okay, well, so those two are at the bottom.
It's at least above those.
Yeah, it's definitely above those. I mean, yeah, it's definitely above those. But
what else we got? We got Thousand Year Door. We got Super Paper Mario. Is that it?
And just Nintendo 64, just OG Paper Mario.
Yeah. So,
better or worse than Paper Mario?
See, the thing is I would still say it's
better or worse than Paper Mario. I heard worse.
I'd say it's worse. I love, like, OG Paper Mario is so good. Worse than Thousand Year Door, definitely, because if it was better than Thousand Year Door, then I'd have a new favorite game going. Super Paper Mario is a hard one, because I think actually it's like weirdly closest to Super Paper Mario in that story got intense too. And its combat is different. Although that wasn't at all turn-based.
Okay.
Better.
So we're looking at a top 3 Paper Mario game here.
Yeah, I would say so. I'm vaguely considering replaying all of them, and then actually finally trying to finish Sticker Star for some reason and playing through Color Splash. So we'll see if I do that.
I had this grand plan to play this Paper Mario and not say anything about it ever, and then hopefully really like it. And then if it came up at Game of the Year, I could like rip off a shirt, and instead of showing my nipples, instead of showing my nipples, I could have a Mario shirt on underneath. But to be honest, I don't know if I can keep that ruse up for that long. So I will just say that I would like to play it, and we'll see if I get to it. I've spent a lot of money in the past month, so I'm probably gonna spend a lot more money in the next month, because there's 2 large video games coming out that I'm gonna end up spending money on. So
I feel it.
And then they'll monetize Blaseball, and then you'll sacrifice all of your.
I mean, I already am in for $6 a month now.
Yeah, $6 and 66 cents a month, rather.
Yes. Also,
I would be in on that if I was employed.
I hadn't seen the Seattle Garage's logo, which is sick as fuck. So I'm not. I'm back on my Garage's fandom.
Okay. Well,
I can't get right.
We can touch briefly on Necrobarista, but there's going to be a spoiler cast.
Yeah, I don't know how much I'm going to have to talk about it, but I played about half of it yesterday, and I'm going to play the other half today in advance of our spoiler cast, and it's good so far. It's the writing seems really good, and I already really like the characters and the world.
So you're in the first half, you said?
I just finished the first half, I think.
Okay. That game's, again, we'll talk about all this tomorrow in more detail, but that game's first act is like so good in a, like, I was like, oh, hell yeah, these characters are great. This writing is great. I'm into this. And then the second act is like, it's like if you watch an anime for 3 or 4 seasons to get attached to characters. And then,
no, I'm attached to the characters.
Yeah. And then the second half is like, this isn't a spoiler or anything, but the second half is like maintains that charm and humor, but also covers some heavier, more serious topics in a way that is really effective. Really effective.
It's kind of like the first half is introducing you to the characters and getting you used to them, and then like there's a little bit of an overarching story that's happening, but the second half is where the actual story happens.
Yeah.
So you take these characters.
I love all of them.
Yeah.
We'll definitely talk about that. So like Pat and Allison were alluding to, we will have a spoiler cast going up tomorrow, and I think alongside that there will also be a review going up. So
yeah, I can say, having finished it since we last casted, it's probably in my number one spot right now for Game of the Year this year so far, which is one of the most hilarious things ever, because literally last year I had, joking, not serious, I would never be this much of a dick for real, but joking conversations with Sam about like fucking visual novel is not winning Game of the Year. And now
we put Disco Elysium right at the top.
And now I'm Ride or Die, which Disco Elysium was almost a visual novel
slowly
anyway.
Slowly gonna convert all of you.
Now I'm Ride or Die for Necrobarista.
Well, I just have to come in and be the naysayer and say its writing's good. It didn't like move me as much as it moved the rest of you.
I think with that in mind, we'll get into it tomorrow, but there's some topics that it covers that hit super close for me. So I think that's probably
interestingly,
a big part of why.
This is my piece, and then we can say the rest tomorrow. But interestingly, it didn't for me. The topics, like I haven't dealt with the themes it's covering in detail in my life in a way that was, I mean, I guess I kind of am now, but yeah, I think it just maybe strikes different people differently. So I wouldn't. When I hear you say that, I'm not like, wow, I guess you have no soul then, or anything. Totally. Like it's not like I'm like, what is wrong with you? I can sort of see how.
Oh, we could, that's a whole other podcast that we have to unpack.
I mean, I don't have a soul, but it's only because I gave it all to the Blaseball commissioner.
Oh God.
So. There's a Discord channel that's just the Blaseball commissioner's tweets.
Okay. Well,
we have a Blaseball commissioner spoiler cast as well.
We could get the Blaseball commissioner on this podcast. We can just stop.
Oh my God, that's my dream.
We can just stop after it's done. We don't need to do any more.
That would be our moment. That we would be the biggest podcast in the universe. And
Blaseball commissioner, please come on our podcast. I love Blaseball.
I don't know if it would make us the biggest podcast on the universe. I think there's only like 3,000 people playing Blaseball still. So.
Listen, I don't understand, because like I feel like everybody I've seen is like chatting about Blaseball.
That's because you've surrounded yourself with good people and you have a good Twitter timeline. I shouldn't say that. The Blaseball commissioner has 2,400 followers, so maybe more like 10,000 people are playing. But I assume that a pretty sizable chunk of the community would be interacting with the Twitter. So,
yeah, I don't know.
Well,
everybody, if you're listening to this, get in on Blaseball, because it is giving. It's one of the things giving me joy in these troubled times.
I would say do it fast, because the half-life on it isn't maybe super long, but
that's
it's also
what I've wondered.
It's also only in beta, and they have a Patreon, which implies that they're planning on supporting it for a number of months. Because
it seems like it is going to be an evolving story. It's like one of the things in the book is like when one team wins the playoffs 3 times, they will ascend. And Blaseball will ascend. Like, what does that mean?
I was like, oh, that probably means it'll be done after 3 seasons, after the one team wins 3 times. And because you can influence stuff, it was like, it probably won't take more than a month or 2 to get there. But maybe it's just the next chapter starts. Or maybe that's how they know they're going to end the beta, is when one team wins the championship 3 times
and
or something.
Blaseball ascends.
Blaseball ascends into 1.0, and then the real story starts.
Also play Necrobarista. But we'll get into that tomorrow.
You can look forward to hearing about the ascension of Blaseball in our news segment in the future. But now we've got some current news, current events. Like the hottest news about all the hottest gaming celebrities Tyler Ninja Blevins does Hollywood.
Sucks.
I read that entire article and like
I had to peace out when they called Ninja and his wife the first couple of gaming.
Yep, I couldn't fucking handle that. And it's not that I mean, I think that's a public perception thing. Like, I think mainstream people probably think of it that way. It's not like the article was doing bad reporting. It was just fuck.
It felt very like congratulatory. Yeah. Like
and that's we had some differing opinions last year when some of his shittier, what I thought of was kind of shitty comments came out, that I think it's reasonable to have a discussion about that stuff and like talk about the different angles. And with regards to like some of his comments about like his wife's insecurities and stuff and how he doesn't want to trigger them. I think that's a pretty deep conversation that maybe is not something you need to work out in news headlines. But beyond that,
like talking about it on his stream,
which is like, I don't know about that, man. But beyond that, he's just consistently put his foot in his mouth and just shown up as kind of a dick, and like a very inconsiderate person, I think, which is like, whatever. I like a lot of people who publicly are kind of dicks, so whatever. But this, like, seeing that quote at the top of this article that was like, oh, 1917 is the best film I've ever seen. It's got to be the best film of all time. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like,
well, specifically, he was paid
to say that. That's what I mean. That's why, like, that movie is good. Don't get me wrong. It's not like it's worth watching if you like war movies. But like, don't fucking tell your legion of 10-year-old fans that this movie that you've been paid to promote is the best movie of all time. There is so little integrity in that. Like, you have so much, you have nothing. Like,
he's got millions of dollars.
His trajectory has been so bizarre because he started as a Halo playing multiplayer professional. Like, that's how he kind of got his name out there at first. And then he started that stream. And he was playing a lot of Halo and eventually got into the Fortnite thing. And he was pretty normal streamer fare. Decent player, decent to good player, comedic, like just throwing jokes, throwing shade with his friends, etc. And then out of nowhere, he kind of got extremely popular. And then, like you said, kind of got very kid focused. Like it was almost like watching it. Like, I watched a few streams just to know, and it was almost like watching a children's show where it's like, at the start of every stream, we're going to do this dance. Everybody get up and do the dance. And it's like, that's kind of what kindergartens do.
What's so weird, he blew up because Drake came on his stream.
Yeah.
He was popular before that. He got Drake on because he was popular.
Right. But he became, that's what put him into the stratosphere.
That's what put him in the stratosphere in the mainstream. Not just with people who watch Twitch every day.
But I think that mainstream appeal is the thing that launched him from being, like, he would be a successful streamer regardless of that, but that is the thing that took him from being a successful Twitch streamer to being like the publicly perceived face of gaming, which fucking sucks. Thanks for another shitty thing, Drake.
But I think a thing that you can say about streaming, like celebrity streamers now versus like celebrities of the past, be them movie stars or whatever, musicians, doesn't matter, pick your poison, is that a lot of these streamers like Ninja, and I'll bring up some other ones later, but like they're just normal people who happen to get really popular. They are not people who are necessarily groomed to be popular. They don't have PR agents or managers for the most part, so they're kind of taking care of it themselves, which is why there's a lot of times they put their foot in their mouth, and it's like,
well, it sounds like though that like from reading this article, it sounds like they've quickly gone from being kind of that just him putting it on to having like full-on managers. And
of course at some point, but like then you kind of look
his wife is his manager.
And they're talking about all of the like other people that work with him for
at this point,
managing and PR and everything.
Right. I think Ninja is a special case, but like if you start thinking into like Dr. Disrespect and what that whole saga has been like, again,
I try not to,
but one of the reasons apart from him being a terrible piece of shit, that went south is like, there's no mouthpiece. Like there's no PR that's like there's no one double checking the tweets that are going through before he says stuff. Like
yes,
there is PR there for him, and like they were at I believe they were part of the interviews he did with like PC Gamer and whoever
and
the other.
I think you make a good but important point, but I would also say something like, it's just a shitty opinion to think that a football kicker's job is easy. Like that's just an ignorant, you just you're not displaying critical thinking and empathy to say, how is your job so hard, football kicker? How do you miss that? Like
if I was a football kicker, I would simply not miss the kick.
Yeah, like that's just a shitty thing to say about somebody. And of course it's not like he could be far shittier. Like PewDiePie is like a bigot and a piece of shit, and I don't necessarily think that Ninja is bigoted in that same way. So I don't think that he's like, I don't wish like harm on Ninja or anything, but the ways in which he puts his foot in his mouth is just like, man, I think about the shit that I tweet more than you do. Like, and that's the reason why I think I find all of them so fun. Like, if you look at like, I think back a lot to Ryan Davis when he once used a homophobic slur on a stream, on a Giant Bomb stream.
It was the Insanely Twisted.
Yeah, and immediately the entire stream went quiet, and you could tell that everyone was like, "What the fuck was that?" And
they ended the stream.
Yeah, and he stepped away. He did multiple blog posts about it to say that it was wrong and it was awful of him, and he had to change his vernacular, and the fact that he said that as the thing to say when he got upset was awful and shouldn't have happened in the first place, and that's not the kind of reflection there at that, when like is with someone who didn't have a PR, he just had his friends around him saying like, hey, that was fucked up, why did you do that, that's awful. And so I think for then to look at these people, if they need that kind of PR, that's like, there might be a problem deeper there than just like you not having someone to kind of bounce your tweets off of first. So I don't know. And things
tough.
Things like Ninja's slur slip moment was when he was like rapping along to a song that was actually by a white rapper. So it was like,
and the word's not even in the song.
That. No. And so I don't know. It's just these people, I don't like that's the perception that he's the face of gaming, and the idea of like, I hate the term sellout generally, because I think you should make money doing the things that you're good at. If you want to monetize your passions, I think you should get paid. Like, yeah. I don't like this notion of like, you should suffer in obscurity for your art. Isn't really, you got to eat. And you should pay taxes and do good things with your money when you have it. But also, I'm not going to be mad at someone for being successful. With that said, I don't think if you're like spewing ads to children without saying their ads first, about telling them to get their parents to see movies and buy them shit, like, fuck off. You're already fucking wealthy. Like, you don't need to do that. And so I think that sucks.
Yeah, there are certainly a whole ton of people I would want to be the mouthpiece of gaming before Ninja.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, yeah, he's certainly not the worst, but certainly not the best, I'd say.
I would also say mainstream media has not been the best at picking them, because I mean,
no,
remember,
you're right,
remember
totally.
Palmer Luckey was on the cover of, what was it, Time?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and over and over again. I mean, unfortunately, he does kind of. I think he's probably less bigoted than maybe the vocal face of the gaming not majority, but the vocal. You know, when you think of like the typical gamer, he's pretty similar to what you think of when you think of that, unfortunately, which is why on top of that you wish that maybe there was a better representation, because gaming is a hell of a lot more diverse than the way than what the people pick, what media picks as the face.
There's only one person who really should be the face. It's the commissioner.
Me. Oh yeah, the commissioner.
The Blaseball commissioner. Yeah. I assume the Blaseball commissioner's face is just a Blaseball.
Like, I was going to say like a blank void.
I was thinking like Daft Punk helmet, but like with a baseball that like just flashes or something.
That's sort of, I was kind of thinking more like a Yoko Taro situation, but with like a baseball for the helmet like the mask. But Void too is good. That would make sense.
So the Wild Wings Discord is now discussing who manages the Wild Wings. Uh-huh. And someone was suggesting Evil Guy Fieri.
Oh my god!
And new chant is "Welcome to Flavortown."
Oh god!
I love it.
Guy Fieri. I don't know about this one. Anyway.
Oh my god! That's so good.
Yep. Well, our next news story. Since we're talking about Ninja. Oh, but that whole story was Ninja wants to do like branch out into more like Hollywood acting, voice acting, that kind of stuff. That's why we
Sorry. I was so incensed by the implications in the story.
Yeah, he wants to get into acting and voice acting and just branch out and he wants to milk his fame for all it's worth. He did that masked singer thing and went home on the first night and nobody knew who they were or knew who he was. He's got a cameo in that Ryan Gosling. No, not Ryan Gosling. The other one. The other Ryan Reynolds. That Ryan. He's got a cameo in his video game movie.
New Guy.
Is that what it's called? Sure. Yeah.
Or not New Guy,
the one that's like the Grand Theft Auto.
The NPC guy.
Goofy thing. Yeah. Yeah. Is it called NPC? Maybe I don't know.
No.
It would need to change the title if it was called NPC.
Free Guy.
Free Guy. Okay, yeah, sure.
Is that a reference to? I don't
know. Either way,
it looks terrible.
If Ninja becomes a Hollywood star, I'm gonna be kind of disappointed.
I'll do exactly what I do now, which is stop watching movies. New movies.
He's gonna be your next Iron Man.
He's gonna be your next host of Blue's Clues.
If you see, that's there's like, that's a problem with this shit is like when you watch when you put Sesame Street on for your kids, you can trust that what they're going to show is appropriate for your children and educational and like emotionally educational and teaches empathy and stuff. Like good children's television is so important and so good. So it sucks that so many kids are watching people like Ninja who is saying shit that I wouldn't want my kids to hear. And it's like, because there's the silly dance at the top or whatever, and parents are stressed out enough as it is to not sit and watch a whole stream.
It's genuinely
kids stuff.
I genuinely wonder in like 10 years or whatever, if we're going to see the like longer term effects from kids being raised off of kids YouTube and like all the weird shit that's on there.
To an extent, I think that we kind of already are too, but I think you're right that it's just going to get more pronounced as time goes on.
I mean, like very more like our kids going to be like, man, do you remember that video where like Spider-Man killed Elsa? And you're like,
what?
That's going to be their weird nostalgia.
Disney dentistry videos.
Yeah.
But Pat, like I do agree with what you're saying. However, don't overlook the fact that Sesame Street in particular has had some pretty bad shit in the background. Just look up Kevin Clash. He was the voice of Elmo.
Yeah, but I guess it's like, for sure, but it's not it's still curated. Like you're not gonna
the show itself, yes.
Yeah.
Like, what is shown
and like kids aren't necessarily gonna know all the behind the scenes stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and like when you watch, I feel like what happens is, and I have I'm not a parent, so I feel like I can't really be super critical of parenting decisions in this case because I just don't know what it's like, especially right now. But, you know, I can see how a parent would watch the beginning of a Ninja stream, see that there's like fucking Nerf guns you can buy with Ninja's face on them, see the beginning of a Ninja stream where he tells a bunch of kids to do the dance, and then they don't pay attention to like the middle part where Ninja is like saying stuff that isn't really appropriate for kids and that really isn't directed at kids, because he's not, getting back to your point about like media training, he's not talking to children when he speaks, even though he's talking to children.
And you know, while he's murdering people and then like teabagging them.
Exactly. And so it's just it's fucked up and it sucks. And that's why I think like there's just different kinds of, I think there's elements of the streaming community that are clearly very toxic and awful. But also to some extent, when you look at, like, if you look at somebody like Courage, I think he's kind of a dick. He says stuff that I think is like shitty to say to people, but it is not, his stream is not geared towards getting children to watch. So it's like, I think he probably says stuff that's shittier to people that he's streaming with. Like he uses what I would call a gendered slur pretty frequently. That is still mainstream accepted to be used a lot, and stuff. But his stream is also not stylized to attract children. So it's kind of like, yeah, I don't really like you. I'm not going to watch your stream. But I have a bigger problem with somebody like Ninja, who is maybe their content is a little bit closer to appropriate, but their stream is geared towards drawing in children and then selling them on going to watch 1917. Like, I just don't. It's so fucking weird to me and gross.
Just watch Shroud instead. He's actually pretty okay.
Anyways. Yeah, totally. Shroud's a lot better for sure.
Bakba soup, baby. Resident Evil speedruns only.
Oh, yeah. Anyways,
or watch me on Twitch, you know? Just
or hang out, Andre, watch the Gaming Fyx Twitch. I'm going to play more Psychonauts tomorrow after we record some stuff.
Watch Allison's stream, which, you know, I always confuse what is your actual stream name versus the one that I call it.
Yep.
What is the actual one?
Happy Beep Sphere. I think you call it Happy Bee Sphere.
Happy Bee Sphere.
Yep. All right. Well, since we're talking about Ninja, let's talk about the thing that propelled him into the stratosphere, Halo Infinite. The multiplayer apparently is going to be free to play. So anyone with an Xbox One or higher can play the Halo Infinite multiplayer. If you're on a Series X, you can play it at 120 frames per second.
Wow.
Most
people cannot utilize that.
Is it on PC also?
I assume it would be.
I would assume
all their
too.
first party stuff is coming to PC.
They also obliterated Xbox Live Gold and stuff like that, right? Like, you don't need that anymore?
No, so there are not year-long subscriptions for purchase. You can still buy like 3 month, but those might disappear. I assume in August we'll hear about that service side of things, because I imagine they'll just be like, and free-to-play games, I assume on Xbox you can play without a subscription.
I don't think that's
on PlayStation.
I don't think that's true.
Can.
Yeah, I don't think that's true of Xbox, because I saw some people tweeting saying like, if this is going to work, they're going to have to drop the Xbox Live Gold requirement, at least for free-to-play games. So I think I haven't not had Xbox Live Gold since the last time I bought an Xbox, but I don't think you can play free-to-play games online without a gold subscription. I think there are exceptions to that. Like, I think you can play like maybe Phantasy Star, like MMO type games, but games where you match to other players, I think you have to pay for the sub.
Yeah,
weird.
That makes sense. I mean, it's not great, but it makes sense.
But if you think about it, it kind of makes sense technically, because theoretically what you're paying for is that matchmaking infrastructure.
Yeah.
So if you're just hitting an MMO server that Microsoft basically doesn't have anything to do with, it's a little different. Like, you can see infrastructurally why they would structure it like that. They should just get rid of the requirement to pay, though. And really what they should do is make it like, it already is part of Game Pass Ultimate, but if it were me, I would say you can play free-to-play games with whoever, but just get Game Pass Ultimate, just get Game Pass, and then you'll be able to play all the multiplayer games you want somehow. I don't know how they would message that, but
I think they should just drop the requirement for multiplayer from like that subscription. So you can just, if you have an Xbox, you can play those games online. If you want to play Modern Warfare, if you want to play Call of Duty, Black Ops, Cold War online, you don't need an Xbox Gold subscription. You just need an Xbox in the game. And if you want to play other games, you can get like the Game Pass if you want. But I think there are so many people who I don't know. There are so many people who only want to play FIFA. They're not going to play FIFA on an Xbox. You play FIFA on PlayStation, but you know, they only want to play their like 1 or 2 games a year. And I think it'd be smart to just
and their Call of Duty.
But that's
exactly.
So the reason, though, that's kind of why they I don't want to say have to, because Microsoft is a huge corporation, but that's part of why they have charged historically, because if
they charge because they had good infrastructure.
Well, right, and the reason that they could justify providing good infrastructure is because they were charging. You know, so like I do see.
Yeah, they've built that infrastructure now, though, so they can just directly go, "Hey, you get the Xbox Game Pass. You get all these games. We're focused on giving you games now. We don't need to charge for that covers the infrastructure anyway."
I guess I just don't know
stuff they're getting.
So let's get out of the way. Microsoft is an enormous corporation. They could give everyone in the whole planet a free Xbox probably and be fine.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to say that I'm like crying for this huge corporation. It would be best if corporations were consumer friendly all the time. With that in mind, I don't know what their numbers money wise look like right now with Game Pass, and if it is a super profitable service yet.
Well, it's growing incredibly fast. I think they've got over 10 million subscribers.
Yeah, but we don't know what the cost to that. We still don't know so much about the back end of that. So I guess what I would say is I think it would be unfortunate if by totally dropping Xbox Live, they had a harder time justifying to corporate continuing to offer the same quality of infrastructure and quality of service.
I don't think that'll be the case.
Well, I don't think they drop the price. Like, it's going to be the same price. They just say, okay, and you get like at this point, because they're already trying to push the Ultimate. And I think if they just take out the Xbox Gold subscription, say, if you want to play games, you can play games. You don't get games with gold. You don't get any of the extra stuff that they've added in. You can play online. You don't get cloud saves.
Yeah.
But
like, I think a difference 10 plus years ago versus today, and also a reason why Sony, like if they went the same path, they would have to charge more, is purely because of Azure. Like, if we're going to dive into the technical part of it, Microsoft owns Azure, and that has servers and access points all over the world. Like, even more, like, we can talk the technicals, but like Azure is actually bigger than Amazon Web Services in terms of how much coverage they have around the world.
And more reliable too.
And more reliable. And like, if you are part of Microsoft, like, it's basically free to hook into. So like, yes, like they still have overhead, they still have all of their operating costs and all that kind of stuff. But like PlayStation is renting servers. Like, they're not really renting, like hosting their own servers. And the ones they do are very like stuck in like, here's one in Tokyo, here's one in New York, right? Like, they don't have.
Well, they're actually moving on to the Azure platform. That was like a big story last year or something.
That was last year too. So like, I think
you still have to pay for that though.
Of course, and that's the thing. Like, Microsoft doesn't. So that's why. Yeah. To Pat's very specific point of, if that change will have much change in terms of like how they're going to report to their management of like, oh, is it still worth to do it? I think it's going to be fine, purely because of the Azure factor.
Yeah, and that could be. I just always like to think of it I try to think of things like that from a perspective of, at first, the idea of better value always seems better. It's more, I almost more bring it up because I think Microsoft is a pretty greedy, shitty corporation. So it's less of a like, I think we should give them money for this service, and more of a like, they suck, and I wouldn't be surprised if that could cause the house of cards to fall if they get too consumer friendly. But you're probably, I mean, what you're saying could totally be true too, Alex, and it won't matter. And hopefully that's the case.
I would personally say at August 1st, 2020, that I would actually say Sony sometimes comes across as a little worse in that sense than Microsoft does.
Oh, I would agree. Yeah.
Like, Microsoft does seem like they're actually making active changes which are benefiting the human beings on the other end, whereas Sony seems like they're milking it in a lot of ways. Like, and I think I mean both Microsoft and Sony as an overall corporation, not just as the gaming division.
Yeah.
So it's tough, but also you're not wrong. But regardless, Halo Infinite multiplayer being free to play is probably going to be fine. I don't know. I'm still probably not going to play it.
It is try it. Interesting that it's going to to 120 frames per second. I don't know if they said it 4K. I feel like that'd be like I don't think anything does 124 or 120 at 4K.
That would be
supposedly
really hard.
I mean, that game looks a little weird, and supposedly these new GPUs are really something special, but I imagine it's probably like 1080 or, upscaled to 4K at 120, but most people aren't going to have a TV that does 120. So
I don't know.
But it is impressive that their big flagship game will hit 120 in multiplayer. I wonder if it'll do that in campaign as well.
Oh, I would hope so.
I would say I bet a lot of people will play that game I bet a lot of people will be either playing that game at 4K or at 120.
I think more people will play it at 4K than 120 because not that many 4K TVs gonna hit 120. Some people will play on monitors. Like the people who are very serious will play it at that, but like your average player buying a Xbox probably just has like a 4K TV, do 4K 60. It'll be fine. It'll play well. That's more than enough for most people. It's better than
that's more than enough for me. I have
gen.
a 1080p 60 hertz monitor that I play on. So
yeah, I'm
happy with that.
My preferred would be 420k at 69 FPS.
There you go. Nailed it. I would prefer to play it at 69k at 420 FPS, which
nice.
Come back in 1,000 years. We'll be there. 69 televisions, 69 1080p televisions arranged in a grid.
Tell me more.
That's the whole thing.
It's all vapor chambers,
and they're it's vapor screens actually.
It's turtles all the way down.
Yeah.
While we're here talking about Microsoft, Cuphead, that game that came out on the Xbox and the developer said would never come out on the PS4.
Yeah, because it's a Microsoft funded game, right? Yeah. Of course, it's never going to go anywhere else ever.
It would never go on any other platform.
Breaking news.
Oh, it came out on Nintendo
Switch. It's out on PS4. No, it's out on PS4. So yeah, there you go. Cuphead out on PS4. That game's good. I still never beat it, but
I never beat it. But I'm just still proud that I beat a bunch of the bosses. Like,
yeah, same.
Honestly,
but
I'm like, I got halfway through. That shows that I am real gamer and bounced off.
Real gamer hours.
Yeah. I think that's cool. I think it's
one
really
more in the Microsoft coffin. No more Cuphead exclusivity.
Oh no, it's just gonna go to Netflix. But like,
oh god, playing Cuphead through the Netflix interface, like they
But playing it like with a remote, like, can you just imagine the normal remote being like
playing it on your Roku?
But yeah. I think it's good. I think it's a good move. Like I have no complaints about Cuphead going to PS4. Getting that game into more people's hands is awesome.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. More people being able to play it is good. And it's a good game. Yeah, it's just kind of funny.
Interesting.
You can't. I wonder if Microsoft was like, yeah, go ahead and put it out, or what?
Well,
just because
they did the Switch thing. So like, even though that was a joke earlier, like Microsoft has been more willing to let like stuff they've funded go to other places.
Yeah, it's just funny that they went out and said it's never coming to PS4, and now, hey, it is on PS4.
Are the Jazz Hands gonna sweep the Tigers in round one?
I'm so happy.
The Tigers are statistically the best team in the league.
Yeah, and then
I just looked.
What the fuck?
Oh, my Moist Talkers are ahead.
The Moist Talkers are fighting for survival right now,
they are, because they could get sweeped.
Yeah.
Well.
Oh my god!
Flowers Firefighter
Look
series
at the
is good.
Shoe Thieves though; they're also at danger of being swept, and they're ahead 7-0.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Holy crap!
Pitching rotations, man. But geez, that Jazz Hands, what the fuck?
No, but I'm happy about it.
Yeah. Anyways, Cuphead, cool. What else we got, Andre?
Next on our Microsoft run is Microsoft Flight Simulator coming to Steam with VR and track IR.
Hell yeah!
Yeah,
so
that's
you can
cool.
That seems
in
rad.
the cockpit.
Oh man, VR for that. Oh fuck.
Let's be clear though. If you would basically have to purchase your computer components from NASA to play that game in VR at this point. Like,
honestly, yeah.
it's going to be different in a year or two when they add VR support. Like for sure, it'll it's sort of like a Star Citizen thing, except actually a real video game that's out. But the Microsoft is the heaviest PC game I think to come out ever in terms of spec requirements. Like,
I wouldn't doubt it. It looks amazing.
Everything. There's a lot of articles coming out this week. They lifted the embargo for a lot of people on beta impressions, and basically everyone says it's like it is the generational leap in terms of video game visuals. Like it is the thing beyond any other games that.
Well, it's just all photo scans, basically, isn't it?
No, not exactly. It's a lot more complicated than that, actually. Okay. But it does approach photorealism. I've heard some reports that when you fly close to the ground, it starts to break a little bit.
When you get one step closer to the edge, it's about to break.
Yes, exactly. But what's one of the things that's really exciting about it is that they have talked about like wanting to improve that stuff over time, so it'll only get better. And Microsoft seems all in on Asobo and their work, so I'm not worried. I'm not the least bit concerned.
I mean,
based on what I've heard.
Say what you will about Playing Fuel, like 10 years ago, that thing was fucking crazy. So they obviously know how to do scale.
We'll talk a lot about Flight Sim in a couple of weeks, I'm sure. But
it seems like it either has the potential to be really cool and like especially in VR, like thinking about how awesome Google Maps VR was, like as weird as that sounds, like just being able to
you're right,
wander around areas that like and like be like, oh yeah, I live there, even though it looks like a deformed mess. Yeah, that's cool. But like,
and in this case, it sounds like it's not a deformed mess when you go to the place that you live. It's not maybe photoreal, but it's a little closer to having some fidelity to it. And like when you fly past, in the trailers, when you look at buildings in cities like New York, they do the Spider-Man thing, except you're flying a plane where the rooms, like the office rooms, have depth to them. There's like, you can look in the windows and you can see like an office table and stuff. Like it's super wild nuts.
When you think about the scale of like, it's the entire world.
Earth.
Yeah. Like it's nuts.
So my understanding is it has track IR support now. They were kind of coy about it in an interview that I was reading, and listening to, but the implication was the person was like, oh, I'm excited for track IR support. And they were like, you should launch the beta today.
That's cool.
And then VR support is coming further down the road. The only thing about this Steam stuff that is frustrating to me, and this is the thing about the game that is frustrating to me, is it's more confusing purchasing model stuff where like you get the base game on Game Pass, can play it through the Xbox app. There's then 2 versions higher than that if you're an enthusiast, you really want the most expensive version, which I find frustrating that I can't get it at a discount, at least as a Game Pass subscriber. I think that sucks and is a shitty move on Microsoft's part. Also, it's still way better value than previous flight sims. If you were to buy the most modern sim currently, it's X-Plane. It's a $60 game, and then you will end up spending potentially thousands of dollars on scenery and add-ons, whereas you don't have to do that with Flight Simulator. But then on top of that, if you buy it on the Microsoft Store, it's a Play Anywhere title, so you can play it in theory on an Xbox when it comes to that. Whereas if you buy it on Steam, even though it logs you into your Xbox account, you don't get to Play Anywhere. So it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do personally, because I want the most expensive version. It might be cool to be able to play it on Xbox someday and show it to people on a TV. I don't know.
But you wouldn't be able to do the VR through the Windows Store version.
Who knows?
Right?
I mean,
probably. It's tough to. I don't know. I don't know if
Windows has. I mean, they have mixed reality headsets.
True.
Microsoft makes them, and there's. I believe that. I would assume that when they were testing HoloLens, a lot of those experiences were being fed through the Windows Store, not Steam. So
funny story. An aside about my workplace. This is related to what you're talking about. I found this out, and I don't know if I'm NDA'd about it, But let's just accidentally break an NDA, and if I get in trouble, we'll just say it was the Blaseball commissioner's fault. So the office that I work in used to be a Microsoft office, and like they used
Did you
to have...
find? Let me guess where the story is going. Did you find a HoloLens in the ceiling panels?
Yes.
I mean, I won't confirm or deny that, but so it was a Microsoft office. Like they built the entire floor that we're on basically. And at some point they just kind of moved out. They moved to Vancouver because I'm in Victoria, and we just took over the office from them. We just kind of took a lot of their stuff, like their desks and all that, blah, blah, blah. And it was a good move. And I found that there's one spot where they left some whiteboards with some stuff on it. And it's obviously not our notes because it very explicitly talks about HoloLens. So I looked it up, and this was the office where HoloLens was being developed. So I have some pictures that I'm not going to share because I think that is probably the NDA part that would get me in trouble. But it's kind of cool. Also, I made one of my coworkers kind of annoyed with me yesterday because they asked me to describe them in 2 words for some survey or something, and I provided the term meat skeleton, and they weren't very fond of that.
Meat skeleton. Oh no, the moist talkers are now down by 3 at the top of the 8th.
Oh, why did no? They were ahead.
Oh wow.
Oh no.
Wow.
Jeez, that Flowers Firefighter series, dead heat going into the 9th. Wow.
Anyways,
wow. I have won all my bets so far. I believe in the heart of the Blaseball. All right, our next news story. We're jumping from Microsoft to Nintendo because Luigi's models and voice samples were found in Mario 64 in like a Nintendo leak. So
it's part of the Giga leak.
This massive leak of stuff.
That was,
and people lost their minds.
There's some pretty interesting stuff happening about that, but let's not get into that right now.
It's fascinating. You should go read Patrick Klepek's piece for it at Waypoint at Vice Gaming. It gets into some of that stuff, and then you should also look up the clean audio sample of Wolf saying, "I can't let you do that, Fox, Star Fox," on Twitter. Because
I heard that on Waypoint, and now I have to go look that up.
Oh my god, it's so good. Anyways.
Wasn't there something about like there was like a thing you could read with like some dates and like L is real or something? Is that anything? No,
that was like a hidden texture Easter egg thing in Mario 64, is my understanding.
Okay, and then it had a date, and then the date was like when the leak came out. I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I saw some weird stuff.
That would be fucking creepy.
It was an inside job. But L is 42401. No, that doesn't make any sense.
But yeah, either way, they did find Luigi in Super Mario 64, which I think Nintendo kind of denied even existed for a really long time. But yeah, there's like a lot of... If we want to talk about Giga Leak, there was also that weird Yoshi that came out.
Oh my god!
On July 25th, so the thing it says L is real 2401. On July 25th, 2020, 24 years and 1 month after the release of the game, the source code was leaked, which included a previously unseen model of Luigi confirming his existence, thus completing the prophecy.
Weird.
We're in Shame Watch.
Jesus Christ. But yeah.
Oh my god, the Jazz have been shamed.
No.
Officially have been shamed. Shamed by the Tigers. Tigers are still alive.
Don't worry about it, Andre. I see your confusion. Just let it happen.
Moody Cookbook taught Fox, bringing it home. All right.
Yeah,
extra innings shame alert in the Flowers Firefighters game.
So to talk slightly about the Giga Leak and not to
the Shoe Thieves one. Okay.
To dive too deep into it. One of the issues that's happening is that archivists are having a bit of a moral kind of issue of like,
and I'd also recommend listening to the Waypoint Radio episode that dealt with it earlier this week, because they talked a lot about that, the kind of moral dilemma of archivists and
I kind of,
but I will now. Thanks.
Yeah, I would recommend it. I kind of surprised. I'm kind of with Gita on it, where like if there are individuals that worked on that stuff that are upset about it coming out, you know, that sucks because it's never good when individual people who work on this stuff get hurt by this kind of thing. But at the same time, like, Nintendo's a huge fucking corporation. Like,
right. I'm kind of torn in that I don't necessarily care, you know, if Nintendo's upset, because, you know, they're a huge company. This isn't going to hurt them. But if I do feel for some of the people who are like individuals who worked on games, and like, especially since it sounds like there's also some emails in there. Like if there's just like, I'd hate for my personal emails to be shared.
That's shitty.
Like,
that shouldn't.
Like, you know, there's a question of, you know, if it's embarrassing about having like various builds of things, like, you know, there's, you know, that's nuanced, but like if you're leaking some personal emails, that's like, come on.
Right.
That's kind of shitty.
I do agree, especially about the emails, but I also think I don't think it matters as much as we're making it out to be, because like think about patents. Those last 20 years, it's been 22 years since all this stuff happened.
Yes.
I don't think it's going to affect Nintendo that much. Like if a patent can last 20 years and this is just like some source code and like some concept art from literally over 2 decades ago, I don't know if I'm going to be like, oh God, is this going to affect this person like their life right now? As like if it happened.
No, I mean, no, but it's like
obscure
the thing that people are talking about with it affecting other people is less like, will it affect them professionally, or is it more like, hey, I don't necessarily want my half-finished art being shown out into the world.
Yeah,
you know,
I guess.
Yeah, I have less. I don't know. It's tough, I guess. My knee-jerk response, and it makes me sound like an asshole. My knee-jerk response is like, it was like 22 years ago, and it was part of working for a huge corporation, and like they're a game that was there. You know, like it's tough. I don't know, but that sounds so cold and uncaring. So I think there was an interesting response from Dylan Cuthbert, who apparently was like his official media response was, this isn't acceptable. And Patrick Klepek said that like he used the word "it's bullshit" in his response or whatever. But then he's also tweeting stuff that's like, holy shit, this is wild. I haven't seen this in 20 years. So it's like,
but he's also questioning, where did they get this data from in that same tweet? And I think if there's like data privacy concerns there, where if they were able to get their hands on obscure stuff, like a weird tool they made to teach themselves C++, like, you know, I think it's reasonable to question the like security of any information that they have from your employment.
And if your personal communications, like you're saying, Allison, are getting out, like personal emails, that's a different story. That seems unnecessary and just weird. Like I have mixed feelings about half-finished art and people being upset about that leaking, but I don't have any mixed feelings about people's personal communications and potentially personal information getting leaked. That's terrible. So yeah, it is a weird 100%, situation.
That's 100% different. Like, I think you're 100% right with that. Like personal information, security concerns, like, I don't know, financial information, work, like addresses that people have lived at, like that kind of stuff. Like, yes, that's 100% valid and should be concerning. However, like a Luigi model in Mario 64 and a weird ass fucking Yoshi, I don't think that
like weird models that are already got to certain thing. Like I personally, like, as a non-public artist, would be really embarrassed if a lot of my old sketchbooks became public. But at the same time, like, you know, a lot of this is specifically stuff that was created for Nintendo.
Yes, this is technically like, owned by Nintendo.
So it's like old models of Luigi and old models of like weird Yoshis, like, you know, to a certain extent, like that shouldn't be too terrible to see out. But yeah.
Oh, that Yoshi is terrible to see.
Well,
it's terrible for your eyes. Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, so that's story developing. Keep your eyes peeled for the Giga leak.
The Moist Talkers are out.
They are.
Welcome to the party zone.
Yeah, I'm in the party zone right here with you. Hashtag hydration.
Oh, I lost
nation.
on the stakes. Dang. All right, shoe thieves. Okay. Anyway, got a few more stories, then we can wrap it up and let
and
people.
Then just pay a lot more attention to Blaseball.
Okay, we got to stretch these out so we can be a good podcast. We got to go like 20 more minutes.
Yeah.
We got to get Jan Ochoa on here somehow.
Frog
Jan,
Fractions.
show up on our podcast, please. We love you.
Frog Fractions is now on Steam.
Yep.
For free.
Because they're killing Flash.
They're killing Flash. Newgrounds, rest in peace. There's a $9.99. There's a $10 hat DLC for Frog Fractions, so you can play the whole game with a hat on.
If you had said there's a $999 hat DLC for Frog Fractions, I still would have had.
I would have been like, yeah, that sounds about right for Frog Fractions.
But
let me double check, make sure.
I would just feel bad if someone bought that on accident, but I think you could refund it.
Is the statute of limitations up on Frog Fractions? Can I just talk openly about some stuff in there, or because it's new there?
I don't think you should.
It's not out yet. It's out on the 4th.
Because
can we have a spoiler chat about Frog Fractions?
Okay, if anyone here, Frog Fraction spoilers just for like, let's call it 30 seconds. Skip ahead if you don't want to hear it, or mute your stream, whatever. Can you make bug porn but wearing a hat?
Oh yeah, of course.
I would assume.
Hell yeah. All
Why
right,
else did you pay $10 for the DLC?
The DLC is called Hop's Iconic Cap.
That's very funny.
That's very
funny.
I love it.
That's a very deep cut.
Wow.
That's good.
All right, no more spoilers.
What I will say is, I think non-spoilers. The way they built the Steam page is very clever. It's very good. It's very like it gives away just what, like, it explains what that thing is in a very good way, I think, and in a way that you can still play it and get the sense of discovery out of it without it being totally like, without it just saying, oh, it's just an educational game, you know?
Yeah, it's like an MECC game.
But they show you that it's a little more references than that without
listing. To be fair, it is like the most important part is that you learn fractions, but
yeah, you do. You definitely do.
You do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, Frog Fractions Game of the Decade Edition. Let it be so. And our last bit of news for today. Necrobarista is going to get some post-launch DLC for free.
This is disappointing because I would like to give them more money.
Yeah, they have the soundtrack coming out soon, so I'm going to buy that one.
Yeah, I'll buy it.
The soundtrack is rad. Okay,
Dude.
Listening, like I kind of left the game running for a while when I was not playing it because I was like, let's just have this like in the background. It's good. So
Kevin Pankin, he's a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, so I am definitely I'm going to consider buying that because it is a good soundtrack.
My literal only critique of Necrobarista is that for some of the longer side stories, the music can be slightly repetitive if you're sitting and reading for 10 minutes and it's the same track for the whole time.
Yeah.
Specifically,
sorry.
There's one specific song that can be repetitive, that is good on its own, but can be repetitive if you listen to it for 10 minutes at a time. Literally my only criticism, though.
Specifically for Billiards 1 is where I ran into it, because Billiards 1 is a little long. Also, for Allison and Andre, ahead of our spoiler cast, if you so desire, if you finish the game, Pat told me this, or told this to me, that you can go back and experience all those side stories without having to do anything extra.
Yeah, they just unlock basically.
Well, yeah, you just you kind of go to the chapter select and push go back to the terminal.
Back to the terminal, yeah.
Back to the terminal, and you can just go through everything.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. That's so good, because I was definitely stressing yesterday. I was like, am I gonna miss some of these stories?
I think worrying about missing them is kind of good while you're playing through it, because it makes you actually think about your choice, the very little bit of choice that you have in that game. But also, yes, you do unlock them all at the end.
Also, that system isn't great, but yes, yeah. So there's no pressure. You can actually go and read all those stories.
Lovely.
And some of those are really
they're
fascinating.
Good. Yes. Yes.
Anyways, tomorrow. That's news.
Yeah.
We're gonna have another podcast tomorrow.
That we will. Well, if that is all,
we got to check in on the calling.
The calling. The website is down.
Dead. The Reddit community is very upset with the developers.
Are they?
Very upset.
Oh, they expected so much.
I'm just double checking theculling.com because yesterday it was down. Now it reroutes straight to Xaviant or whatever the developer is, and there's no mention of the culling on here.
Huh.
Y'all, the culling might be dead.
Maybe. Well, Pat has an Xbox. He can go in there and he can test. He can
They
try.
haven't tweeted since July 8th.
Is the culling dead? Can we finally end this bet?
Does Allison win?
Is it Jeopardy rules? Because like mid-August, you're like we're not mid-August.
She was closest without going over.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pull up the Xbox store.
Or I guess she did go over, but she was closest because
either way, the culling, that was never a good idea. That was never going to work.
No.
Anyways,
can't put people on an island and make them fight to the death.
You can still purchase it. You can still purchase it.
How much does it cost? Like $5?
$5.99. I think we determined that until you literally cannot purchase it on the Xbox store, it's not dead until then.
All right, we're still going then.
I mean, it's still getting closer to my date, so.
Yep. And we started this bet on May 14th, so.
I do like that they say for full details on the latest status of the game, how you can give feedback and report issues can be found at theculling.com.
Well,
great.
Which redirects to Xaviant's site, which doesn't have any mention of the calling on it.
Nice. We should email support just to kick the tires on this.
I was going to tweet at them yesterday being like, hey, is your game still going?
How's it going? What's up? The culling has been cold.
They haven't. Whoa. They didn't. Their last blog update was from July 8th. Also.
Whoa, what's it about?
Calling patch notes.
Oh, that's where they did like the weirdly large patch that was like bot match stuff. If a bot match ends, you'll get rewards. Yeah, basically. Okay. And anything? There's going to be a Beyond Good and Evil Netflix series.
Oh yeah,
or movie.
So weird.
That was weird.
I mean,
that game's not going to come out.
Which sucks because I would like it to come out. I like Beyond Good and Evil.
It'd be cool if it came out. Yeah.
But what the fuck?
We got some more just quick fire. Battletoads coming to Game Pass in August.
Who cares?
Yeah, I kind of thought that would get dropped. I don't know. Rare's working on it.
Oh wait, is this the new one?
Yes.
Yeah, new Battletoads.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Then okay, fine, sure.
BioWare put out some stuff on their plans to make loot satisfying in their rehash of Anthem. We'll see how that goes. There's not any like definitive info, but they kind of walk through their philosophy on what they're going to try and do.
Apparently they put out a news story saying, hey, we're still making Dragon Age.
Yep. They said,
whatever. Yeah,
we're working on it. But they had clips in that EA presentation from that, it sounded like. So
yeah, so it's fine.
Let's see. Whatever. Hawkeye is going to be in Avengers.
Also, Avengers looked good in that stream.
Yeah, it looked all right.
Whoa.
Yeah. It looked the best it's ever looked.
Yeah. I'm actually excited for it now, not just excited to see.
That's got a closed beta this weekend or next weekend?
No, it's next weekend. And then the following
next weekend and then two weekends of open beta on PS4 and closed beta on everything else, I guess. Epic Game Store adding mod support. First game is MechWarrior 5 to test it out in beta.
Which is really a weird choice. Yeah. That game's not very good. Maybe that's why.
Maybe if you mod it.
Mods,
but also,
it'll be good again.
It's surprising to me that it did, like Epic Game Store did not have mod support, given Unreal Tournament was very moddable.
Yeah, but Unreal Tournament, didn't they shut down Unreal Tournament?
Yep.
Yeah.
Unreal Tournament is Fortnite.
they built the mods into Fortnite. You make your own mods. There is that whole League of Legends Saudi Arabia partnership.
Let's not.
They backed away but
I can't right now.
It's over. But yeah, it's a whole bunch. Sekiro is going to get DLC, a boss rush mode, costumes, and Dark Souls-esque messages.
That's weird.
They're adding new music into Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2.
That's wrong.
Huh. Like for
37 new songs.
That's interesting. Like, is it from the era or is it like modern?
I am not familiar with any of the music listed, so I could not tell you. But I don't think. Let's see. Okay, A Tribe Called Quest, Swayze and the Ghosts, Alex Leahy, All Talk, American Nightmare, Backchat, Baker Boy, Billy Talent, Black Prez, Feat, Kid Something.
Those all sound like they could be from like the 90s. When
Charlie Brown Jr.
Yeah, like. A lot of those are
Chick Norris.
I don't know that.
Destroy Boys, DZ Death Rays, Fiddler, Junk Bunny, Less Than Jake, Machine Gun Kelly. Yeah, no, this is
Machine Gun Kelly is definitely new. These are like half bands that could. Oh, there's more. There's Real Big Fish going in. Never mind. I take it back. This is great.
There's Real Big Fish. That's pretty cool.
Yes. Yeah. Strung Out.
Sublime. Tribe Called Quest is a good get for that game though.
Yes.
That's awesome.
They couldn't get all of the time here. They were kind of not getting. They couldn't get all of the original music, right? Like they only got about 2/3 of the soundtrack.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that they're fleshing it out. Actually, despite
they're adding 2 songs from the classic back in that were originally not going to be in there. Let's see. Anything else?
We're trying to make it to the Jan Ochoa length. We got this.
Yep. We can say, hey, come on our podcast. What's your favorite Jan Ochoa memory?
Oh goodness, that's a tough one.
Mine's when he told the story about how he went like wheat pasting and then he fell off a ladder and fell in a dumpster. This is a real good story.
I really like when he and Ben made, I want to say it was Vietnamese coffee. Okay. That was a good video. It was a Ben's Lens, I think. Also, Jan Ochoa is like exceedingly nice in person. I met him at PAX one year, and
I'm jealous.
He is such a pleasant person.
He seems so cool.
Yes, he's just pleasant to be around for sure. Yeah.
Jan, come on our podcast. We love you.
I seem to remember Jan just having some really funny stories. Regarding things he did while doing Mythbusters stuff, like driving cars and doing weird things in that, but I can't remember the exact story.
Oh, that's the best Jan story is when he had bomb residue on his clothes that always get picked. He has bomb residue on his clothes that always gets picked up by TSA in airports, and has to explain that it's because he worked on Mythbusters. Which, when paired with the fact that he also has clothes that say Giant Bomb on them.
God, yeah.
Speaking of Mythbusters, rest in peace, Grant Imahara.
Yeah.
That is a
that was really sad.
That was the worst news.
Yeah, I watched a lot of Mythbusters and...
Did anybody not watch a lot of Mythbusters?
No, but there was a very specific period in my life where I watched so much Mythbusters.
Oh yes, I know. Yeah,
Mythbusters is one of the things that makes Mythbusters so great and made Mythbusters so great. And Grant was a huge part of why this was the case, is because they felt like they were only talking to you when you watched that show. Mm-hmm. It felt like they were only doing that show for you and that nobody else was watching it. It was just you and them. And that is like so incredibly special and part of why that show worked so incredibly well, because even though obviously it was one of the most popular shows on cable, it still felt like when you met someone else and said, I like Mythbusters, and they said, I love Mythbusters, it felt like you were in like a pretty small club, even though you totally were not.
Yeah. It was popular, but I feel like there is a very specific, I don't know.
And I feel like everyone was into that show feels like the reaction when someone says, oh, I love Mythbusters too. You go, okay, you love Mythbusters, but not like I do.
and Yeah,
but like you love Mythbusters, you got to be kind of all right, like, you know.
Yeah, that too.
But like I saw Grant and Tori do a show at my college once, and they seemed really cool. Like I didn't get to say hi or anything, but they were really, really fun and pleasant. So
yeah, and I personally and secondhand know of many people who got into engineering specifically because of Mythbusters, like just having a fascination with the stuff they did, and Grant was a huge part of that. And like some really good friends of mine talk about like how he was one of the best Asian representations that they ever knew on TV, especially in those days, and like was just beloved in those communities. So like for aneurysms are just the worst because they're just so unpredictable.
I don't know if there's any like more official details, but it sounded like it was an aneurysm. I heard some people saying it sounded like an AMV, which I had a friend who had one of those. He survived, but he was also a friend who loved Mythbusters. He was like, that was like his show.
Yeah.
And so seeing that connection was just like immediately thought of my friend. I was like, I got to go, check in on him, see how he's doing. Because
that's hard.
Even though, surviving a stroke like that still is, it's real tough.
Yeah.
But 5 minutes. Yeah, much love to everyone out there. And, Mythbusters, they made it feel like you were the only one watching. And just like us, we're only talking to you, listener.
Jan.
Indeed. Only talking to Jan Ochoa. Podcast listener, stop listening. And podcast listener, don't listen to this. Jan Ochoa,
should we just title this episode "For Jan Ochoa" or something? Like
Jan Ochoa, please come on Gaming Fyx.
Come on our show. No, the clip for this show is just us saying Jan Ochoa, come on our show.
That's beautiful.
This Blaseball thing. How long do you think y'all are going to stick with it?
I honestly have no idea.
Yeah, it's really hard to say.
So for me, I watched or had Salty Bet on in the background for literal months. Even if I wasn't actively engaging with it, it was just there. And I feel like this is going to kind of turn into something similar, and just like every now and again check in on the community, but not keeping like an active watch on it, because that's going to burn out real fast.
I think the reason that I could stay interested in it is I feel like, and this is maybe something that'll happen as it grows. Every gaming community that I try to engage with, I end up getting pretty disappointed, because I feel like whether it's tonally or from a like moderation perspective, it just always seems to go to shit. I'm not a part of any like larger communities really, despite playing a lot of games. Even like in the tabletop space, I don't participate in community channels for the tabletop games I play because I find I don't like a lot of the people there. Tonally, I really like the Blaseball Discord. It's fun. The people there seem like cool, and like diverse and open and like and earnest in a way that I feel is missing from a lot of gaming communities. So in that way, I could see sticking around for a bit just because it's actually like a nice space. But as it grows, who knows if it'll be easy to maintain that, so it could go south.
Indeed, it could. Hopefully it doesn't.
I hope not.
Well,
remarkably, it has not yet. So.
And the community in the Discord and such is incredibly tolerant. Like,
yeah,
like, yeah, in kind of an amazing way. So, yeah.
And if the creators are dedicated to keeping it that way, then should be okay. Well, you know what? I think we're gonna make it. Maybe we'll be just under. But I think we're gonna wrap it up.
You need to come on so that we can get that.
Yeah, we just needed one more person to pat us out for another
named
30 minutes. Jan Ochoa, come on our show.
Jeez.
You can find. Thanks for joining us for episode 132 of Gaming Fyx on August 1st, 2020. or August 2nd if you're me. I've been your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite Blaseball team. You can find me on Twitter at Coolslaw, COOLSL4W, or you can watch me stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/Coleslaw, COLESL4W. I was going to change my Twitter handle back to that, but then someone stole it, and then they got banned.
Ridiculous.
Like that was my original Twitter handle. Then I was like, oh, I'm cool, because I was a dumb high schooler, and then it never changed back. And then now someone stole my handle and got banned with it because they're probably saying some dumb shit.
Is it stealing if you abandon it on the side of the road and then somebody else picks it up?
If they're going to get banned with it, yes, it is. They're not going to responsibly use it. They're going to abuse it. I still have that name on. It's my email. Don't email me. Whatever. Email's useless.
Unless you're Jan Ochoa.
My Jan Ochoa, email me.
Jan Ochoa is welcome to contact me in whatever way he would like.
I've got like 10,000 emails unread, 7,000 right now.
We can't get into that because that's a whole other conversation. I'm with you, but
you can Pat, where can people find you?
You can find me
conversation with you
at PJC Plays. I have been streaming on the Gaming Fyx Twitch channel. I shouldn't say I have been streaming. I streamed last Sunday on the Gaming Fyx channel, and I plan to do it again tomorrow. We are recording some stuff, like we said, and then after that, I'll probably play Psychonauts for a bit. It was fun last week, and I think it will continue to be fun. I would also like to stream some Fall Guys. Apparently, I have that beta key now, so I want to check that out. And keep an eye out. I'm saying it here because saying things here means that I actually do them, and I don't procrastinate too much. Keep an eye out for Extra Life information. I'm going to do an Extra Life stream. It may involve airplanes. That's the plan right now.
That idea that you have is
that's
really
like 3 months away.
Very excited. Yeah, you got to start early, and you got to say it early because it's going to take me time to prepare it. So I need to get it out there that I'm doing it, so I don't procrastinate too much.
How many practice runs are you going to do?
Oh, none. We're doing it live. Okay. I mean, I'm going to play a lot of Flight Simulator to know how to fly the airplanes, but I'm not going to run that. My plan is to do a flight around the world, stopping at different Fyx hosts. Roughly home areas. I don't want to dox anybody, so I won't be flying up to anyone's houses.
Is not like that'd be.
But I'm going to fly to a regional airport in the proximity of each Gaming Fyx host, as so far as information about them has been revealed on the show before. And it should be fun. There is time dilation, so we can do it in 24 hours.
Great. Alex, where can people find you?
In my email inbox, where I have 57,302 unread messages.
Oh, thank God. I was worried you might be the person, if we had that conversation, that was like, it seems like there's always a person who's like, you got to keep your inbox tight. And it's just like, I can't do that. I can't live like that.
I had to get Google One, upgrade my drive because I didn't want to go in through and delete old stuff.
Yes.
So
I mean, I will say in the last week, I have searched an email from 7 years ago to pull some information.
Oh, same, totally. I have stuff from 2012 that I still refer to if I need it. So
it was just computer case information, like a serial, not a serial number, but like a product number for the case that I have. But I didn't want to pull my case apart and find it on the case. So I just searched my old email for the receipt from when I bought the case 7 years ago.
100%.
Allison, where can people find you?
Find me on Twitter at WRITERSERENYTY. And as another plug on Damage Boost podcast that was just released this past Friday.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to be recording an episode of that on Monday coming up here.
Cool.
I'm going to talk about Yakuza.
Cool.
The games, not the crime syndicate. You can find Pat's review of Umurangi Generations on our website at fyx.space. You can find us on Twitter at Fyx Podcasts. And go to podchaser.com/gamingfix and leave us a review because it helps us improve our whole shtick. Also, if you're a Spotify listener,
Yep.
Boy, you probably haven't heard us for months.
Yeah. So thank you.
We're back now, baby.
Yeah. Thank you to the people who reached out to me and were like, "Hey, have you just not posted anything since March?" And I was like, "What?" Yeah. No, there were some issues. They are now resolved. So I'm sorry if you're on Spotify and get a notification of about like 20 new episodes all at once, but that should be working.
Here you have 20 episodes to listen to as a treat.
I know you've probably missed out on the last 5 months of gaming news, but don't worry, we're here for you.
Yeah, now you can listen to the Final Fantasy Remake spoiler cast and the joke we made about camature apertures and buttholes.
Oh my God. Someone just posited that if Blaseball ascends, what if it becomes a different splort?
Oh.
Splort?
What if it becomes Glulf?
Or flute ball? Oh, the possibilities are endless.
Tlennis?
Oh.
Okay. Sorry.
I want this, but like, maybe I don't want this, but wrestling. But maybe
I want this, but
wrestling.
Little wrestling.
Yeah.
I do want that.
All right. Well.
Okay, that's how this is a service game, and it's gonna last forever. Anyway.
Schlot.
God.
I don't like that. Don't say that.
Schlotplut.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Clurling.
This needs to end. No, I don't like it.
Clurling. Deliving.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Formula One.
We'll be back with a special guest next week. And if we're lucky, I'll have a little some extra, but we'll see
that
about
special guest is not Jan Ochoa, for what it's worth.
No.
I wish.
We'll have our wonderful friend Jeff Davis on the show next week.
I'm excited, but like also not to say that we're not excited about Jeff because
Jeff
tune in 2 weeks. Tune in 2 weeks to hear Jan Ochoa.
Oh, you can't say that.
It's the secret. You got to put it out into the world so you can take what you want. And I want Jan Ochoa on this podcast.
God,
that's why we stretched for so long.
I'm gonna have to make a super clip of all the times we call out Jan Ochoa.
Do it.
All right.
Do it.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye.